Chapter 49. The human body was a treasure trove. Many people could not completely decipher its mysteries, even after spending their entire lives. In the depths of Chinyu's muscles, the most basic cells that made up the body were different from ordinary people. After so many years of continuous extreme training, absorbing internal energy, and absorbing the magical clear stream of Lu Xing's tears, the most subtle cells in Chinyu's body had undergone some magical changes. However, at this moment, as Chinyu continued to learn those movements, his cells actually continued to absorb the spirit energy of heaven and earth, and began to change again. Every cell was like a bottomless pit. The spirit energy of heaven and earth that poured in was completely devoured in an instant. Although the spirit energy of heaven and earth completely enveloped Chinyu's body, and even turned into a fog, it was still far from enough for his body to absorb. If one cell could absorb so much, how many cells did Chinyu have in his body? This also showed that a person's potential was limitless. The 36 mysterious pictures of the sky connecting diagram really have a magical power. Chinyu suppressed the excitement in his heart and wholeheartedly learned the 36 movements. He tried hard to perfect every movement, including the subtle movements of his fingers, so that they were exactly the same. Chinyu discovered that the more accurate the movements were, the faster the absorption of the spirit energy of heaven and earth would be greatly increased. When Chinyu first learned the 36 movements, he felt very awkward. However, as he continued to learn and the movements became more and more perfect, Chinyu felt that the 36 movements were so comfortable. Every muscle and bone in his body had a comfortable feeling from the inside out. The moon slowly set behind the willow tree, and the sky gradually brightened. However, Chinyu was still immersed in this set of movements. His movements became more and more natural. Although the movements were strange, Chinyu no longer felt awkward when he performed them. Smooth and natural, Chinyu finally felt this wonderful feeling. When he performed the 36 movements, Chinyu reached the most basic level of smooth and natural. At this moment, what shocked Chinyu the most was that the spirit energy of heaven and earth that enveloped his body had changed. It was no longer in the form of a fog like before. Instead, it formed 36 airflows that were as thick as an arm and penetrated Chinyu's body at a much faster speed than before. By the time he reached the realm of having 36 arm-thick streams of air revolving around his body, time had already passed. 3 days and 3 nights. For 3 days and 3 nights, Chinyu did not eat or drink. He was completely immersed in this set of movements. Only when he stopped now did he feel the obvious changes in his body. I feel refreshed. I don't feel hungry at all. This feeling is really good. Chinyu's eyes burst out with a bright light. At this moment he was very excited in his heart. No matter what kind of mysteries this through heaven diagram has, just these images on the surface have already brought such a big change to me. I'm already very satisfied with this. At this moment, even if Chinyu didn't want the first diagram, he wouldn't care, because Chinyu had already memorized all the 36 diagrams. Of course, Chinyu did not believe that the secret of the trans-heaven diagram was the simple 36 diagrams. If it was possible to succeed just by learning these diagrams, then after countless years, there would have been someone who had figured out the secret. Moreover, Chinyu didn't believe that he could reach the level of that legendary person just by refining his body. Xiaohei. Chinyu saw the black hawk dozing in the yard and shouted with a smile. Xiaohei suddenly opened his eyes. Seeing that Chinyu had finally stopped practicing, he also excitedly flapped his wings. In the past 3 days, Chinyu had been constantly practicing, so he was bored to death. It's been so long. It's time to hand in the task. If I don't hand in the task now, the Skynet will probably judge me as a failure. Chinyu thought to himself. Immediately, Chinyu took the iron box containing Zhensu's head, then sat on the back of the Black Hawk, and left the town. The Black Hawk was as fast as lightning, and its speed was extremely fast. I'm also a gold medal killer now. After changing his appearance and changing his bones, Chinyu wore a golden mask, and left a branch of the Skynet with a lot of banknotes in his arms. Haha! The person in charge of the Skynet was so enthusiastic when he knew that I was the killer Lu Xing. This has never happened before. Qin Yu sighed in his heart. When he handed in the task just now, the person in charge was very enthusiastic about Qin Yu. However, when Qin Yu handed in the task, the person in charge was cold and formal. It was no wonder that Qin Yu sighed. Qin Yu didn't know that gold medal killers had a very high status, and even gold medal killers were divided into upper, middle, and lower ranks. Killing an early-stage Xiantian expert was also a gold medal killer. Killing a middle-stage Xiantian expert was also a gold medal killer. Killing a late-stage Xiantian expert was also a gold medal killer. Of course, these 3 gold medal killers were not the same. Zhensu, who Qin Yu killed, was a late-stage Xiantian master. Qin Yu was now one of the best even among the gold medal killers. Such an elite, the person in charge of a small branch, naturally had to be very enthusiastic about Qin Yu. As soon as Qin Yu left the branch, the person in charge of the Skynet branch immediately ordered, "Killer Lu Xing has just left. Quickly check his identity." Although the Skynet had a rule not to check the identity of any foreign net member, a gold medal killer was a Xiantian master, and the leader of the Skynet had personally ordered to check the identity of Killer Lu Xing naturally. The Skynet had to check it. However, when their people were about to follow him, they found that, "Sir, there is no sign of Killer Lu Xing in the East Street. Sir, there is no sign of Killer Lu Xing in the West Street." The person in charge was immediately puzzled. "That's strange. Can Lu Xing fly? Why can't I find him?" Indeed, Qin Yu can fly. At the moment, he is sitting on the back of a black eagle, flying very high in the sky. Not even his shadow can be seen on the ground. The black eagle is really flying too high and too fast. Therefore, to check Qin Yu's identity is as difficult as ascending to the sky. High in the sky, Qin Yu is feeling the strong wind blowing. Father never allowed me to take part in his plan. Now I'm already a Xiantian master. Qin Yu is very excited. As soon as he thinks that his father knows he is a Xiantian master, Qin Yu becomes very excited. Moreover, Qin Yu is the first Xiantian external expert in the history of the Qianlong continent. When Qin Yu was young and ignorant, he thought that his father did not come to see him, because he did not love him anymore. Therefore he practiced very hard. After growing up, Qin Yu realized the truth. His father was wholeheartedly involved in the plan to destroy the Xiang clan. His eldest brother and second brother were also involved. Qin Yu wanted very much to help his father. However, his father refused him, because he had not reached the Xiantian level yet. Finally, Qin Yu became a Xiantian master. Xiaohei fly directly to Yin capital. Qin Yu crushes the golden mask, and gets rid of all the items that could reveal his identity as a killer. Then he uses the appearance and bone-changing technique, and turns back to Qin Yu's original appearance. Qin Yu can't wait any longer. Xiaohei seems to know how Qin Yu feels. With a shrill cry, it flaps its wings and increases its speed again. It turns into a beam of black light, and flies directly to Yin capital. Chapter 50. At the moment it is already late autumn. The autumn wind rises and the withered leaves fall. The peaceful white sand town has welcomed some special people. In an old house, the troops of Zhu San, the richest man on the Qianlong continent, and the team of experts dispatched by the Chu Emperor Xiang Guang, are gathered in this house. Both sides are very cautious, but their power levels are simply not on the same level. For some reason, Zhu San's team only has one Xiantian expert, and he is only at the early stage of the Xiantian stage. But the people dispatched by Xiang Guang are all experts, including many Xiantian experts. "I am Yifeng. We've brought our stuff. What about yours?" A handsome man says directly with an evil smile on his face. This Yifeng is the younger brother of Yi Yan, the commander of the secret army, the dominant Dragon Corps. He is also the vice commander of the dominant Dragon Corps. The leader of Zhu San's team is a fat old man. He says smilingly, "Do you still need to worry? We only have so few people, so we don't dare to deceive you. The corpse of the demonic saber-toothed tiger is intact. Bring it up." The fat old man shouts loudly. Immediately, 4 big men carry up the corpse of a dark red tiger up to 5 m long. The 16 sharp spikes on its body represent the identity of this tiger. a demonic saber-toothed tiger. A demonic beast is really a demonic beast. It's been so long, but its corpse hasn't rotted at all. Yifeng says with a smile. The fat old man says with a shake of his head. Mr. E, demonic beasts have exceptional bodies and will only rot after a long time. But we've also sprinkled some billowing dry powder on this saber-toothed tiger's corpse. That's why it hasn't rotted at all for such a long time. TSK, billowing dry powder. The richest man in the world deserves to be called the richest man in the world. Yifeng clicks his tongue and praises. All right, we've already checked the goods. You can also take a look at our stuff. Yifeng waves his hand. A man behind him immediately takes out a jade case. When the case is opened, the square jade inside is emitting various 7-colored rays of light. The fat old man slightly narrows his eyes. He takes a look at the square jade, which glitters with various rays of light. In an instant he raises his head and says smilingly, No need to check it carefully. We believe in the royal family's reputation. Good. Let's have a pleasant cooperation. In the future, our boss will have many business deals with the royal family. Yifeng nods his head in satisfaction. Men, retrieve the corpse of the saber-toothed tiger. At Yifeng's command, 4 people came out from behind him and lifted up the huge corpse. The fat old man also took the trans-heaven diagram. The cooperation between the two parties was very sincere and very pleasant. At this moment, waves of faint, almost invisible smoke drifted over. Immediately, one person after another fell down powerlessly. The 4 burly men who were carrying the saber-toothed tiger's corpse also fell down instantly. Then blood flowed out from their 7 orifices and they died on the spot. Not good, the smoke is poisonous. The chubby old man's voice sounded at the same time. In just a short while, except for the fat old man, everyone on his side was poisoned to death. On Yifeng's side, a large number of people had fallen one after another, leaving only 8 people standing. These 8 people were the Xiantian experts among the people who came this time. Innate masters could hold their breaths and perform innate embryonic breath. Of course, the poisonous fog was useless. Even if a Xiantian master inhaled a little bit of it, he would be able to quickly circulate his Xiantian qi to expel the poison. Qinda's men. Yifeng's voice became ice cold. Qinda, you even dared to meddle in His Majesty's affairs. Could it be you want to rebel? Yifeng's voice was very loud, so it spread directly outside the courtyard. This place was the territory of the 3 eastern region counties. Apart from East vanquishing Prince Qinda, who else would know about this matter? Even if he knew, who else would have the guts to meddle? Rebel. That bastard Xiang Guang has Zhensu's help, so he must have known about His Highness's affairs. Even though things have come to this point, we still have to establish a memorial arch. For the moment, we won't exterminate your Xiang clan publicly. But as long as we kill all of you, Xiang Guang won't have enough evidence. An aged voice rose. Lian Yin led a total of 3 people into the courtyard. Seeing that the 3 of them were not afraid of the poisonous fog, they were obviously Xiantian experts. However, there were only 3 of them while Yifeng's side had 8 people. That fat old man was also a Xiantian expert. But even Yifeng's expression became unsightly. East vanquishing Prince, our bosses. The fat old man wanted to say something, but whiz! A cold ray of light flashed. The fat old man died with his eyes wide open. A black-clad old man behind Lian Yin smiled grimly. He killed a Xiantian expert in one move. That fat old man simply had no power to resist. East vanquishing Prince Qinda's side had 3 people altogether. 2 late-stage Xiantian experts and Lian Yin, a peak Xiantian super expert. Peak Xiantian experts are at the peak of the late stage of the Xiantian realm. After reaching peak Xiantian experts will have to undergo the 4 and 9 heavenly tribulation. East vanquishing Prince is really powerful. But if you want to rob us with only 3 people, you're really looking down on us too much. Yifeng said coldly. There were still 7 people behind Yifeng. Only one of them was at the late stage of the Xiantian realm. The others were mostly at the middle stage, or early stage of the Xiantian realm. Yifeng himself was only at the middle stage of the Xiantian realm. In terms of power, the 3 experts sent by Qinda, especially the peak Xiantian Lian Yin, were simply unrivaled. Gentlemen, don't talk nonsense with them. Let's fight directly. Lien Yin said indifferently. Yes, Senior Lien. The two black-clad old men bowed and said. Among Qinda's subordinates, Lien Yin had an extremely high position. No matter who it was, when they met Lien Yin, they would all call him Senior Lien. This was not only because Lien Yin was powerful, but also because of his seniority. Yifeng's eyes flashed with coldness. Besiege them. Kill the late-stage Xiantian experts first. Immediately, the 8 Xiantian experts, including Yifeng, charge at Lien Yin and his 2 companions. Lien Yin, however, remained motionless with an indifferent smile. The 2 black-clad old men behind Lien Yin also charged at them side by side. Swish! Lien Yin's body flashed and disappeared into thin air. The only late-stage Xiantian expert among the 8 people of Yifeng's group suddenly had a bad feeling. Following the fear in his heart, he immediately hacked diagonally backwards with his saber. With a bang, Lien Yin's body appeared in front of him. He gave a faint smile. Your reaction is pretty fast. Suddenly, a brilliant saber light bloomed. The late-stage Xiantian expert hurriedly raised his saber to block. However, the saber passed through his body, and a sharp Xiantian saber energy pierced through his body, directly piercing into his body. Then with a pung sound his body exploded. The only late-stage Xiantian expert had died. Lien Yin could not help giving a faint smile. However, before Lien Yin can withdraw his saber, his face changes color. His body immediately flashes and he dodges far away. However, a sharp whistling sound still rises, and a bloody mark appears on Lien Yin's face. Immediately, the scuffle comes to an end. The middle-aged man dressed in pink looked at Lien Yin smilingly. Qingyu, it's you. Lien Yin's eyes glittered with fierceness. Lord Father. Seeing the middle-aged man dressed in pink, Yifeng hurriedly bowed and said. This middle-aged man was none other than Elder Yu, the actual leader of this team. He was also the father of Yi Yen, the commander of the Dominant Dragon Corps, and the former leader of the Dominant Dragon Corps. Yi Qingyu was Elder Yu's name. Lien Yin, you're still as impressive as you were in the past. I was just a bit slow, and you killed a late-stage Xiantian expert. But this time, Lien Yin, you won't be able to escape. Yi Qingyu gave a faint smile, as brilliant as a gorgeous peach blossom. A cold light flashed between his slender fingers. Chapter 51. Lien Yin takes a look at Yi Qingyu. His eyes radiate an unprecedented brilliance. If Qingyu were here, he would definitely find it strange. Because Lien Yin is usually very indifferent. Even in Misty Villa, he mostly just sits there quietly. He is rarely excited, especially as excited as he is now. Qingyu, do you still remember 160 years ago? Lien Yin says with a smile. Yi Qingyu ponders for a while, then bursts out laughing. Lien Yin, do you still remember the battle 160 years ago? But at that time you were really too weak. You couldn't even protect your own daughter and wife. Luckily for you, East vanquishing Prince's men came and saved your life. This time you won't be able to run away. Reaching the Xiantian level, a person's life expectancy can reach 500 years. Both Yi Qingyu and Lien Yin have lived for several hundred years and have reached the peak of the Xiantian level. However, they have never had to face the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. Some people face the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation on the day they reach the peak of the Xiantian level. Some people die of old age without facing the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. This depends on one's perception. It simply can't be forced. Run. Why run? I've waited for over 100 years just for this day. Lien Yin's eyes suddenly flash with fierceness. You kill the others. I'll deal with Yi Qingyu. Yes. The 2 black-clad old men immediately bow and say. Lien Yin, however, stares at Yi Qingyu. A fierce aura of power surges towards Yi Qingyu. It is so fierce and overbearing that the saber at Lien Yin's waist also starts to tremble. Yi Qingyu slightly frowns. Then he stretches out his fingers like an orchid and greets Lien Yin with a smile. The 2 of them confront each other, but neither of them rushes to attack first. Reaching the peak of the Xiantian level requires at least 100 years, if you don't have treasures of nature, or top-notch godly techniques. Only if you have top-notch techniques, such as the ancestor dragon arts, or get some treasures of nature from the untainted land, can you reach this level within several decades? Ah! Miserable cries rise. The sound of fighting continues. The two black-clad old men charge at Yifeng, and the other 7 people. Severed limbs fly up and blood scatters all over the ground. The two black-clad old men are also somewhat injured. But under the siege of the 7 people, they still manage to kill one and cripple the other. However, Yi Qingyu and Lian Yan simply don't look at those people. Clang! The battle saber at Lian Yan's waist suddenly comes out of its scabbard. A swift and fierce saber light immediately blooms. In a flash, it has already arrived in front of Yi Qingyu and slashed his body. Lian Yan reaches out his hand and grabs the saber. Like lightning, he follows the saber light and also charges at Yi Qingyu. The saber light flashed, and the figure disappeared. The blade light streaked across Yi Qingyu's body, and Yi Qingyu's body turned into nothingness. Ah! A black-robed old man suddenly screamed as a tiny hole appeared between his eyebrows. Then, Yifeng and the others tore it into pieces. Yi Qingyu's figure appeared on the other side. His orchid-like fingers gently pinched an embroidery needle. Lian Yan, you should know that my speed is the fastest, right? Why did you use that move? Yi Qingyu says with a slight flick of his sleeve. Suddenly his face changes color, because he finds that Lian Yan has disappeared. Yi Qingyu immediately closes his eyes. With a flash, Yi Qingyu's body also suddenly disappears. At the same time, a series of clanging sounds of metal hitting metal rises. At the same time, the two figures appear in front of everybody. But in an instant the two figures disappear again. Bang! 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 Only a series of clashing sounds can be heard. The speed of the two figures has completely reached the limit. Given the physiological function of human eyes, they are simply unable to see clearly. Ha ha ha, delightful, delightful. Lian Yan's loud laughter suddenly rises. His laughter is full of aggressiveness and heroism. Lian Yan, I didn't expect you to really have some skills. Yi Qingyu's somewhat feminine voice also rises. Flowers of blood scatter in the air. But the two figures are so fast that other people simply can't see them clearly. Suddenly, the two figures appear, standing in confrontation with each other. A tiny hole has appeared on Lian Yan's chest, from which blood is flowing out. Yi Qingyu is also not as free and easy as he used to be. At the moment, his hair is disheveled, and there is an obvious saber wound on his abdomen. Blood is also flowing out from the wound. Haha! Lian Yan suddenly turns his face upwards and laughs for a long time. Flowers bloom and wilt. Spring goes and autumn comes. For so many years, I, Lian Yan, have been waiting for this day. When Li died in my arms, I no longer had any interest in life. Living in this world without feelings, what was the point of living? Money, power, I don't care about any of them. When Li died, I lived in this world to remember the past and to kill you. But for so many years, you've always been hiding in the depths of the dominant Dragon Corps headquarters. This time, Lian Yan's eyes are completely fixed on Yi Qingyu. God is helping me. I finally found you. Haha, Yi Qingyu, come on. Let's fight to our heart's content. A dazzling golden light bursts out from Lian Yan's body. Afterwards, Lian Yan's whole body becomes as dazzling as a golden sun. His body is covered with a tough protective aura. His aura is so strong that it far surpasses that of Jinsu. Yi Qingyu frowns slightly when he feels Lian Yan's aggressiveness and indomitable momentum. Old man, you're really hard to deal with. Yi Qingyu says impatiently. Various silvery black rays of light start to appear on Yi Qingyu's body. His hair also floats up. Each strand of hair is flickering with a sharp light. The embroidery needle in his hand, however, is very inconspicuous. Boom! An explosion suddenly rises. With Yi Qingyu and Lian Yan as the center, the air within a radius of 10 m explodes. The only remaining black-clad old man on one side is being besieged by the 4 men led by Yifeng. Just now, when he killed one of them, he has already been seriously injured. These 4 men are all middle Xiantian experts. Even though he is in the late Xiantian stage, he has after all been seriously injured. It will be difficult for him to kill 4 of them by himself. Suddenly, a series of explosions rise. The ground of the entire courtyard is blown up, causing dust to rise. The violent forces force the four men, and the black-clad old man have no choice but to retreat to one side and stop fighting for the moment. They all look at the center of the courtyard. Heart-piercing arrows. I Ching Yu's sharp voice rises. His whole head of silver hair turns into sharp arrows and thrusts straight at Lian Yin in front of him. A hint of arrogance appears on I Ching Yu's face. It is impossible for him to make each of his silver hairs powerful enough to break Lian Yan's protective upstanding qi. His real killing move is the embroidery needles hidden in his silver hair. Bang! Lian Yan's battle saber is chopped down. However, a bunch of I Ching Yu's long hair curls around the saber, making it impossible for Lian Yan to chop down. At the same time, countless strands of hair thrust straight at Lian Yan's whole body like sharp arrows. Moreover, the 10 embroidery needles hidden in the hair also attack Lian Yan with frightening strength. Lian Yan notices the embroidery needles, but he doesn't dodge because he doesn't want to. Now that he has taken his revenge, living will be a kind of mental exhaustion. Ha ha ha. Lian Yan suddenly turns his face upwards and laughs loudly. His laughter shakes the sky. Ah! With a miserable cry, I Ching Yu's head flies up into the air. His wide-open eyes are filled with disbelief. His hair has also been chopped off. I Ching Yu's head rolls on the ground and is covered with dust. Yi Feng and the others, who are watching the fight on one side, are stupefied. 10 holes have also appeared in Lian Yan's chest. The 10 embroidery needles have pierced into his body, but he is still laughing. At the moment, there is a dark red battle saber in his hand. This battle saber is a middle-grade holy weapon forged from in-rock flaming iron. Lian Yan has always kept it inside his body. At the beginning, Lian Yan was only using his old weapon, but at the most critical moment, he suddenly took out this middle-grade holy weapon and chopped off I Ching Yu's long silver hair and chopped off I Ching Yu's head. I Ching Yu's speed is extremely fast. If he had known earlier that Lian Yan had such a holy weapon battle saber, perhaps he would have run away early on. Sitting on the back of a black eagle and soaring high in the sky, Ching Yu feels extremely carefree. What a powerful aura. Xiaohei, stop. Ching Yu can clearly sense a terrifyingly powerful aura below. Even though there is a long distance between them and the ground, that aura is really too powerful. Even ordinary Xiantian experts can sense it. Moreover, Ching Yu's senses are very sensitive, so naturally he can sense it. It's Grandpa Lian's aura. Ching Yu identifies it carefully and discovers it. Xiaohei, get down. Ching Yu says without hesitation. The black eagle dives down at once. In just a short while, Ching Yu sees the small courtyard from the sky. At the moment, Lian Yan has chopped off I Ching Yu's head with a single blow. Ha ha ha. Lian Yan turns his face upwards and laughs out loud. Tears, however, flow down from his eyes. With a glance, Ching Yu sees one hole after another in Lian Yan's chest. Those are the holes caused by the 10 embroidery needles. Ching Yu is proficient in the art of medicine, so he immediately judges that those holes are the vital parts of the human body. Looking at those holes one after another, Ching Yu immediately becomes stupefied, as if he has been struck by a bolt from the blue. Chapter 52. Ching Yu's mind is completely blank. A feeling of suffocation makes him feel dizzy. After a while, but to Ching Yu's mind, it seems to be a very long time, Ching Yu completely recovers. Grandpa Lian. Ching Yu's hoarse voice suddenly rises. At the same time, Ching Yu jumps down from the black eagle's back and arrives at Lian Yan's side in an instant. Lian Yan raises his head and sees Ching Yu jump down. A faint kind smile appears on his face. Xiao Yu, you've unexpectedly come. To be able to see you before I die, God really treats me well. Even though he has been seriously injured to the point of death, no one can tell that he has been seriously injured just by looking at the way he talks. Grandpa Lian. Ching Yu does not know what to say. Looking at those terrible injuries, Ching Yu's tears flow down. Xiao Yu, don't cry. It's normal to get old, get sick and die. Your Grandpa Lian has lived long enough. Even if I die now, it's no big deal. Lian Yan wipes the tears from Ching Yu's face and persuades him. Suddenly Lian Yan slightly frowns and immediately sits down on the ground. Grandpa Lian, let's go. I'll take you to see a doctor. Ching Yu says, and is about to carry Lian Yan onto the Black Eagle's back. Xiao Yu, don't bother. I know you're proficient in medicine. Looking at my injuries, don't you know that I'm about to die? Your Grandpa Lian's injuries are extremely serious now. It's only by relying on the vigorous Xiantian energy in my body that I can talk to you for a while. Lian Yan says with a smile. Qin Yu bites his lips. Even though he is unwilling to admit it, he can also tell that what his Grandpa Lian said is true. At the moment, Lian Yan is relying entirely on the Xiantian energy in his body to support himself. Ah, father, go quickly. Kill that black-clad old man first, then kill that old bastard. Yifeng's resentful voice rises. Yifeng can also tell that Lian Yan has been seriously injured to the point of death, and basically has no power to resist. A hint of coldness flashes through Qin Yu's eyes. Xiao Yu, don't be rash. Hurry up and leave. The four of them are all mid-stage Xiantian experts. That black-clothed old man is your father's subordinate. Now that he's seriously injured, he won't be able to hold on for much longer. Lian Yan hurriedly advises Qin Yu. Although Qin Yu has reached the Xiantian realm, Lian Yan simply cannot see it. When the experts of the Hidden Dragon continent observe each other's strength, they sense the qi in each other's body. After reaching the Xiantian realm, one's body would be filled with Xiantian true qi, which was very simple. However, Qin Yu was different from any other Xiantian master. He did not have any Xiantian Jun qi in his body. His strength lay in his body, his strength and his speed. Therefore, even Lian Yan is unable to see through Qin Yu's power. After all, it was very difficult to accurately judge the strength of a person's muscles. Grandpa Lian, don't worry. I have the confidence to deal with them. Grandpa Lian, let me tell you a secret. I've already reached the Xiantian realm. The Xiantian realm of external martial arts was completely different from the Xiantian realm of internal martial arts. At the moment, Qin Yu's only thought is to make Lian Yan a bit happier. Lian Yan's eyes brighten. You've reached the Xiantian realm in external martial arts? Since ancient times, no one has been able to reach the Xiantian realm in external martial arts. Seeing Qin Yu's eyes, Lian Yan knows in his heart that Qin Yu did not deceive him. However, as a dying man, Lian Yan's heart is comforted, and he calms down very quickly. Ah! A miserable cry is heard. The already seriously injured black-clad old man has been killed by the four Xiantian experts. Haha, old man, you unexpectedly dared to kill my father. I'm going to cut you into pieces. I'm going to let you die a horrible death. Yifeng stares at Lian Yan with extreme hatred. His entire handsome face becomes ferocious. At the moment, Lian Yan's face turns pale. Qin Yu's face changes color. He knows that Lian Yan is about to die. He hurriedly holds Lian Yan. Shut up. Qin Yu suddenly shouts coldly at Yifeng. The cold light in his eyes is like a sharp knife stabbing at Yifeng. He doesn't want Lian Yan to be disturbed before he dies. Yifeng is stupefied by Qin Yu's shout. That look in his eyes especially stupefies Yifeng for a moment. Qin Yu looks at his Grandpa Lian. At the moment, he only wants Grandpa Lian to leave this world peacefully. Lian Yan looks at the sky. His eyes are bewildered. He remembers the scene when he met his lover for the first time at the Golden Phoenix pool. The reflection of dew flowers, the green smoke, the warm waves of the spirit swamp, the golden willows swaying in the wind, the trees and trees, the colorful boat, the dragon boat, the distant shore. The 1,000-step rainbow bridge, the jagged goose teeth, leads straight to the water palace. Around the golden dike, the graceful fish and dragon play, the delicate spring silk, the heavenly silk pipes. Yen capital, the Golden Phoenix pool, the beautiful figure of my lover is still there. His voice gradually lowers. When Lian Yan dies, there is also a smile on his face. Qin Yu is still young. He hasn't experienced many things, so he can't understand Lian Yan's heart. But he can feel that when his Grandpa Lian dies, he is relaxed and calm, without the slightest sadness. Grandpa Lian. Qin Yu says in a low voice, trembling. From childhood to adulthood, the one who has been with Qin Yu the longest is Lian Yan. When he was in the prince's mansion, it was Lian Yan who brought him up. When they went to Misty Villa, it was also Lian Yan who brought him up. It can be said that the time Lian Yan has been with him is much longer than that of his father Qinda. Boy, are you done being sad? Yifeng says with a cold smile. Qin Yu simply cannot bear to look at Yifeng. Yifeng, however, is extremely angry. A moment ago he was unexpectedly stupefied by Qin Yu's angry shout. Of course he is angry and ashamed. But he is not a playboy. Moreover, the one he hates the most in his heart at the moment is Lian Yen. Because Lian Yen killed his father. Father, I've been unfilial. Now I'll avenge you. Yifeng kneels down in front of Qin Yu's corpse and says. Then he turns around and stands up. He orders coldly, attack. Kill that boy. That old bastard dared to kill my father. I'll definitely cut him into pieces and torture his corpse to the extreme to avenge my father. Yes, sir. The three middle-stage Xiantian experts bow and say at once. In their eyes, a boy like Qin Yu is simply not worth their attention. What did you just say? Qin Yu gently puts down Lian Yan's body and slowly stands up. His ice-cold and sharp eyes shoot straight at Yifeng. Yifeng slightly narrows his eyes. Cut that old bastard into pieces. What's wrong? A faint evil smile appears on Yifeng's face. He then stares at his three subordinates. You three, tell that boy what the consequences will be if he dares to meddle in other people's business. Brothers, it's just a little boy. I can handle him by myself. A short man says with a smile. Qin Yu, however, slightly narrows his eyes. Various streaks of cold light leak out from his eyes. Boy, prepare to die. The short man's body flashes and the long saber in his hand slashes towards Qin Yu. His speed is much faster than that of the Nalan siblings. Unfortunately, the current Qin Yu has made a lot of progress compared to the Qin Yu who killed Jinsu that day. A pair of dark red gloves suddenly appear on Qin Yu's fists. They are middle-grade holy weapons, flaming gloves. With the movement of Qin Yu's body, three blurs appear. At the same time, with a crisp sound of metal clashing, that Xian-grade battle saber is unexpectedly smashed into pieces. However, the iron fist that has smashed the battle saber turns into a beam of light and thrusts straight at the short man's throat. The fingers of the fist are a penetrating attack. The short man, who is still in shock because his war saber has been shattered, simply doesn't have time to react. Qin Yu's punching power, which is equivalent to 1000 jin, is completely concentrated at that point. With a bang, a hole directly appears in the short man's throat. Boom! The short man's eyes are wide open. With a loud bang, he falls to the ground and can no longer stand up. His eyes are wide open, as if he still can't believe what just happened. Yifeng and the other two middle-grade Xiantian masters have their mouths wide open. For a moment they don't close their mouths. They look at Qin Yu in shock, then look at the dead middle-grade Xiantian master lying on the ground. In their minds, they recall Qin Yu's amazing speed just now, and how he directly shattered the Xiantian grade war saber. You three, prepare to be buried with my grandpa Lian. The power in Qin Yu's body is surging. Even the power in the depths of his cells has begun to boil. How strong is the strongest attack of a Xiantian master? Chapter 53. Qin Yu stares at the three men in front of him with cold, murderous eyes. Lian Yan's death has filled Qin Yu's heart with resentment and unwillingness. Now the three men in front of him have obviously become the targets for Qin Yu to vent his anger. Moreover, these three men are also on the same side as Qin Yu, the man who killed his grandpa Lian. Phew, it's just a little guy. Just now Shorty was careless. Don't be scared by him. Yifeng suddenly shakes his head then stares at Qin Yu like a viper. Skinny ugly, let's go together and kill this brat directly. Hearing Yifeng's order, Yifeng's two subordinates immediately nod. Just now they were also shocked by Qin Yu killing their partner in one move. Only when the three of them join forces will they have enough courage. Yifeng and the other two men all stare at Qin Yu. The Xiantian energy in their bodies starts to boil. The three men's energy spreads out and completely envelopes Qin Yu. At the moment, Qin Yu is like a turtle in a jar. Bang! Bang! He takes off the black iron arm guards and leg guards, and casually throws them aside. They hit the blue stones of the courtyard with a loud bang. Yifeng and the other two men's faces change color greatly at once. Just now Qin Yu was so fast and he was even carrying weights. Grandpa Lian, please wait a moment. After Xiao Yu kills them, I'll take you back. Qin Yu says in a low voice. Qin Yu cannot help recalling the times he spent with Lian Yan when he was little. When he was a child, Qin Yu stayed by Lian Yan's side all day long and asked Lian Yan to tell him stories. During Lian Yan's stories, Qin Yu fell asleep again and again. Once upon a time there was a gifted scholar who studied hard for 10 years. Every time Lian Yan told a story, he would always start with once upon a time there was a. When Qin Yu closes his eyes, he can remember the scene when Lian Yan told him stories in front of his bed until he fell asleep. That scene was so warm. However, from now on, that kind Grandpa Lian will never be seen again. Qin Yu's eyes cannot help becoming slightly moist. Who? With a flash of his figure, Qin Yu disappeared without the slightest sound. Ah! Qin Yu clenched his teeth and punched the skinny man's abdomen with all his strength. Qin Yu could now support a weight of 2,000 to 3,000 jin with one hand, but his punch was over 10,000 jin. The impact was terrifying. Boom! The skinny man's abdomen shook violently, but it didn't break. Instead, the skinny man's eyes bulged out, and blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. His internal organs were completely shattered by the force of the punch, which weighed nearly 10,000 pounds. Under the impact of nearly 10,000 jin, the thin man's Xiantian true qi couldn't withstand it. He had killed a middle-stage Xiantian expert with a single punch. However, Qin Yu's mind couldn't help but recall one scene after another. Those warm and familiar scenes that Qin Yu would never forget for the rest of his life. Grandpa Lian quickly opened the door. I'm Xiao Yu. I have something to tell you. Quickly open the door. Qin Yu shouted impatiently. In a short moment, the light in the room was turned on. Little Yu, Grandpa had just fallen asleep and was woken up by you. Following an amiable voice, the door to the room was opened. A kind-looking old man in his 60s draped in a coat appeared in front of Qin Yu. That night, Qin Yu's Grandpa Lian explained in detail the differences between internal and external techniques, and the differences between Houtian masters, Xiantian masters, and Shangxian. That night, Grandpa Lian's kind words revealed a world of cultivation to Qin Yu. A smile appeared on Qin Yu's face. It was as if he had returned to that small room at night, with the kind Grandpa Lian in the room. Ugly, be careful! Yifeng shouted loudly. A cold light shot from his hand towards Qin Yu. Qin Yu didn't dodge at all. He punched out, and with the sound of metal clashing, the embroidery needle turned into powder. Like a gust of wind, Qin Yu arrived beside Ugly. Go to hell! Ugly fiercely chopped at Qin Yu with his saber. Ah! Ugly suddenly uttered a miserable cry. Just now Qin Yu's kick directly broke Ugly's knee with a terrifying force. Then he directly grabbed Ugly's spine with one hand, using the flaming gloves as a claw. The force of his fingers directly acted on Ugly's spine through the flaming gloves. With a miserable scream, Ugly fell down on the ground. His whole body twitched non-stop. Streams of blood oozed out of his mouth. The scenes in Qin Yu's mind continuously flashed through his mind, from when he was a child to when he grew up. Those scenes of him being together with Lian Yan cannot help causing a smile to appear on Qin Yu's face. It is a smile that comes from the bottom of his heart, like the smile of a child meeting a relative or an elder. Qin Yu raised his head and looked at Yifeng with such a smile. You're the only one left. Seeing Qin Yu's heartfelt smile, Yifeng felt a chill in his heart. In just a short moment, 2 middle Xiantian experts were killed just like that. Yifeng himself was only at the middle Xiantian level, so his reaction was run. Very quickly, the scene in Qin Yu's mind suddenly changed. He recalled the scene just now, when he saw on the back of the Black Eagle that there were 10 holes in Lian Yan's body. Qin Yu's face immediately changed color. Qin Yu fixed his eyes on Yifeng in front of him. With a movement of his body, Qin Yu turned into several afterimages. Go to hell! Don't chase me! Go to hell! Yifeng screamed in fear. At the same time, he shot one embroidery needle after another at Qin Yu. Seeing the embroidery needle shooting at him with an ice-cold light, Qin Yu's eyes suddenly burst out with a dazzling light. He seemed to see the scene of his Grandpa Lian being pierced with so many holes all over his body by embroidery needles. Ah! A hoarse roar rose. Yifeng immediately trembled. He could clearly feel that the roar was approaching him extremely fast. No matter how much Xiantian internal qi he stimulated, his speed was still far inferior to that of the person chasing after him. Since he could not escape, Yifeng suddenly screamed and turned around. Holding the embroidery needle with both hands, he stabbed it at Qinyu. Bang! 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 The needle was broken. The arm was broken. There was also a pair of wide-open eyes filled with disbelief. Successive explosions were accompanied by Yifeng's miserable screams. Qinyu's iron fist smashed the embroidery needle and Yifeng's arms. In the end, Qinyu's right fist slightly protruded and formed into a fist, attacking Yifeng directly between the eyebrows. A powerful penetrating force was transmitted directly into the brain. Withdrawing his hand, Qinyu turned around and walked towards Lian Yan, not even looking at Yifeng. Boom! Yifeng fell down on the ground with a loud crash. Streams of blood slowly flowed out from his mouth and nose. He was already dead. In a short moment, 4 middle-stage Xiantian experts were all killed by Qinyu. After practicing the 36 diagrams of the first trans-heaven diagram, Qinyu's power has improved a lot. However, even with the help of a middle-grade holy weapon, Qinyu's power was at most on par with Jinsu's. But the opponents were 4 middle-stage Xiantian experts. Logically, even if he won, it should not have been so easy. But Qinyu was best at group fighting. He simply did not care about the number of opponents. Even though there were 4 opponents, given Qinyu's body maneuvering skill, Qinyu was only facing 1 opponent in every real fight. Grandpa Lian, let's go home. Qinyu walked to Lian Yan's side and said amiably. His tone was just like how Qinyu usually talked to Lian Yan. Qinyu even seemed to regard Lian Yan as a living person. Chapter 54. At this moment, the sound of rapid footsteps rises from outside the courtyard. Along with the sound of strong wind, an old man in blue appears in the courtyard with a group of people. Seeing the scene in the courtyard, the old man's face changes color. Qinyu raises his head slightly and gives the old man in blue a cold look. Seeing Qinyu's face, the old man in blue kneels down at once and says, "Your Highness, I'm late." Late, Qinyu repeats in a low voice. His heart is filled with anger. If they had come a bit earlier, perhaps his grandpa Lian would not have died. However, these people are late. Moreover, Qinyu has seen this old man in blue beside his father before, so he knows he is one of his father's trusted subordinates. Take the things here back to the mansion. As for Grandpa Lian, I'll take him back myself. Qinyu's voice is cold and emotionless. Qinyu puts on the black iron arm guards and leg guards, then holds Lian Yan in his arms. Following Qinyu's long whistle, the black eagle turns into a black light and dives down. Qinyu's figure flashes, and he climbs on the eagle's back. Xiaohei, go back to the mansion. Qinyu says softly. The black eagle seems to feel the sadness in Qinyu's heart. It does not play around like it did in the past. Instead, it flaps its wings and rushes back to the mansion in Yin City at the fastest speed. The old man in blue watches Qinyu disappearing into the horizon on the back of the black eagle. He slightly frowns, then orders his subordinates. Quick, lift the saber-toothed tiger up quickly and send it back to the mansion as quickly as possible. The old man in blue, however, takes the second trans-heaven diagram himself. Lian Yan is dead, but Qinyu is also dead. It's not too bad. But His Highness and Lian Yan are very close. The old man in blue frowns deeply. Obviously he feels something is wrong. In the mansion in Yin City, Qinda and Su Yuan are sitting opposite each other under an old tree. They are playing Go quietly. Your Highness, you've lost again. Su Yuan gently puts down a white piece and says smilingly. Qinda watched for a long time before shaking his head with a smile. Su Yuan, your chess skills are getting more and more exquisite. Even I am no match for you. Su Yuan looked at Qinda and shook his head. It's not that Su Yuan's chess skills have improved. It's just that His Highness is unable to calm down today. Qinda sighed and said, Indeed. Today, I always feel my heart beating and I can't calm down. I've always been worried about Uncle Lian. Logically speaking, with Uncle Lian's current strength and 2 late-stage Xiantian experts, it shouldn't be a problem to resolve this matter. Don't worry, Your Highness. Senior Lien is extremely powerful. There aren't many people on Xiang Guang's side who can injure him. Su Yuan says smilingly. Suddenly, Qinda stood up and looked up at the sky. The black eagle swooped down and flew towards Qin Yu's location at an extremely fast speed. Sitting cross-legged on the back of the black eagle was Qin Yu. Qinda immediately smiled. He had been waiting for Qin Yu's return. Qin Yu had left him so much in-rock flaming iron, which was a huge fortune for him. Of course, he had to reward Qin Yu. However, Qinda's smile froze, because he saw that there was another person in Qin Yu's bosom. Bang! Qin Yu jumped down from the back of the black eagle and landed on the ground. Holding Lien Yen, Qin Yu just looked at Qinda at the same level without moving. Seeing Lien Yen in Qin Yu's bosom, Qinda's face immediately turned pale. He tried hard to control himself and walked towards Lien Yen step by step. Lien Yen's pale face, which had a smile on it, appeared in his eyes. Father, Grandpa Lien is dead. Qin Yu's voice is calm, but it contains extreme grief. How could this be? Did Uncle Lien have a holy weapon? Qinda's eyes moistened in the blink of an eye. After a while he suddenly asked Qin Yu. Let me ask you, was there a person called Qin Yu on Xiang Guang's side? Qin Yu said with a shake of his head. I don't know. I don't know who those people are. Seeing the holes on Lien Yan's body, Qinda said with a sigh. These are wounds caused by embroidery needles. On Xiang Guang's side, only Qin Yu was able to use embroidery needles and hurt Uncle Lien. Uncle Lien has finally been freed. Qinda had experienced many things in his life, so naturally, he could see what was on Lien Yan's mind. The person who killed Grandpa Lien has already been killed by Grandpa Lien with a slash of his saber. Qin Yu said directly. When he was on the back of the Black Eagle, he was attracted by the aura of the fight between Lien Yen and Qin Yu. When he came down, he happened to see Lien Yen kill the opponent, and then turn his face upwards and laugh loudly. Qinda took a deep breath and slightly nodded. Uncle Lien has been freed. You don't have to be too sad. On the contrary, you should feel happy for your Grandpa Lien. Qin Yu, however, did not say anything. He only looked at Lien Yen in his bosom. After a while, some servants of the prince's mansion took Lien Yan's body. Qin Yu watched Lien Yan's body being carried away, but he remained silent for a long time. Then he said indifferently, Father, I'm not in a good mood, so I'm going back to rest first. Don't let anyone disturb me. After saying so, Qin Yu immediately turned around and walked towards his own courtyard house. In the courtyard house, Qin Yu was sitting quietly on a stone bench, looking at the willow tree in front of him. The willow branches were fluttering in the wind. Qin Yu seemed to see the scene of himself and Lien Yen playing here when they were children. Whoosh! With a movement of his body, Qin Yu unexpectedly started to dance in the courtyard. He completely followed the movements of the 36 diagrams on the first piece of the trans-heaven diagram. Qin Yu basically did not think too much. He just kept performing those movements extremely fast. 36 arm-thick streams of holy aura of heaven and earth intertwined with each other in a ring, as if they were wrapping Qin Yu in armor. Afterwards, these auras seeped into Qin Yu's body. Qin Yu's tears silently dripped down. Qin Yu's speed, however, became faster and faster. He was not practicing martial arts at all, but was merely venting. Naturally, his movements also became faster and faster. The 36 movements became faster and faster. In the end, his whole body flashed like a gust of wind in the courtyard house. The holy aura of heaven and earth became denser and denser. The faster Qin Yu's speed became, the denser the holy aura of heaven and earth became. In the end, when Qin Yu had transformed into a cool breeze, the 36 streams of holy aura of heaven and earth unexpectedly produced a faint silvery light. When the streams of holy aura of heaven and earth merged with his whole body suddenly trembled. Ah! A heart-wrenching and tearing pain came from his body. Qin Yu suddenly stopped. The muscles on his face trembled and tears gushed out from his eyes. Without the slightest bit of restraint, he faced the sky and roared. It was unknown whether it was because of the tearing pain in his body or the pain in his heart. Qin Yu just roared like this. His voice went on and on until there was no more qi in his body. Only then did he stop. Then Qin continued to breathe roughly. You are. Qin's voice rose outside. Qin took a deep breath and tried hard to calm down, saying, Father, let me calm down for a while. During this time, don't let anyone disturb me. Just give me this time, okay? The outside of the courtyard house was quiet for a long time. Then the sound of footsteps gradually faded away. Chapter 55. Qin is sitting motionlessly beside the stone table in the courtyard house. He has been sitting like this for a whole day and night. Qin is either smiling or grieving. However, at this moment Qin suddenly gives a faint smile. This faint smile is like a breeze blowing away all the sadness and sorrow. Qin slowly stands up and looks up at the sky. He's already dead, so it's useless to grieve. Grandpa Lien, you're watching from the sky. I definitely won't let you down. Qin says calmly in his mind. Then a goo-goo sound rises. Qin gives a smile. I didn't expect that after not eating or drinking for a whole day and night. I'm still quite hungry. As he is saying, Qin directly orders the servants to bring some food to him. In his room, Qin is staring at the military map on the wall. Your Highness, Xiao Yu just ordered the servants to bring in some food. Judging from his Highness's tone and demeanor, he should have almost recovered. Su Yuan goes to Qin's side and says smilingly, Oh. Qin's furrowed brows loosened, and a smile appeared on his face. Yu has a tenacious temperament. He won't be so useless as to completely immerse himself in grief. Hearing this news, Qin also felt relieved. All right, we don't need to worry about Yu now. Su Yuan, you come and take a look. If we send 30,000 fierce tiger troops here. Qin immediately starts to discuss with Su Yuan. Qin is eating the sumptuous food, but he is thinking about something else in his mind. If father wants to achieve something big, I must join him. In the past he refused me, because I was not a Xiantian expert. Now I'm a Xiantian expert, and an unprecedented Xiantian external expert. If I tell father. Qin eyes glitter. For so many years, Qin has been working hard. He has been waiting for his father's affirmation. A Xiantian external expert. This is enough to make his father shocked and praise him. By the way, when I first returned to the courtyard that day, when I was performing the 36 movements of the first piece of the trans-heaven diagram, when my speed reached an extremely fast speed, the pillar of spiritual chi of heaven and earth actually produced a silver light. That silver light also produced intense pain. Qin recalled that scene. At that time, although Qin remembered this matter, he was immersed in the pain of Lien Yan's death, and didn't think about it carefully. Furthermore, it seems that the faster one cultivates, the denser the spiritual chi of heaven and earth absorbed. Let's try again. Qin immediately made a decision in his heart. He finished his meal in 2 or 3 bites. Then, he threw away his chopsticks and his body turned into a gust of wind, flashing in the courtyard. Speed. The speed at which Qin practiced those movements increased exponentially. 36 streams of heaven and earth spirit chi intertwined with each other, forming an armor that enveloped Qin. As the speed increased, the solidification of the air pillar continued to increase. Specks of silver light were produced. There were very few of them, and there were only a few specks of silver light on the air pillar. This is the speed. Qin's eyes brightened. He immediately stopped increasing the speed. He clearly felt that the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, which contained traces of silver light, fused into his body, causing his muscles, and even his muscles to undergo rapid changes. His cells were torn apart, and then repaired again. Intense pain came from the deepest part of his body, causing Qin face to turn deathly pale. Luckily, Qin didn't increase the speed again. The silver light was still very good. Qin could still bear the pain from a small part of his body. If there was too much silver light, his whole body would feel such intense pain. Even Qin would feel terrible pain. His muscles continued to absorb the specks of silver light. Qin discovered that the silver light seemed to be a type of extremely pure energy. It was much purer than the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. The speed at which his muscles were being tempered and transformed was increasing at a speed that he could clearly feel. At the same time, The air pillar continued to replenish the energy, fusing with Qin Yu's body. Very good, sure enough, the trans-heaven diagrams aren't that simple. How can it only absorb a bit of natural holy energy? But I don't know what mysteries the second and third diagrams have. Qin Yu thinks to himself, but his movements have slightly increased by a level. End of B3C4. Suddenly, the number of specks of starlight floating on the air pillar increased. Qin Yu's pain intensified. Qin Yu frowned slightly, but a trace of a smile appeared on his face. As time passed, 2 days later, the silver light seemed to have flowed all over Qin Yu's body. When the silver light flowed to the original place, Qin Yu didn't feel any pain, only a slight numbness. His muscles also didn't improve as quickly as before. In just 2 days, Qin Yu's muscle strength had definitely more than doubled. Speed, let's increase the speed again. Qin Yu continued to exercise. After 2 days of continuous exercise, Qin Yu didn't feel hungry at all. With so much spiritual qi of heaven and earth, it was enough to replenish his energy. As Qin Yu's speed increased, the silver light in the air pillar increased again. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth that contained the silver light seeped into his muscles, and quickly moved from one muscle to another until it was completely absorbed. The faster the speed, the more special the silver light? What's going on? Now that my speed is increasing, why is there less silver light? Qin Yu finally discovered this problem. His current speed hadn't reached Qin Yu's limit. It should be known that Qin Yu was still carrying weights. Alright, let's continue at this speed. Qin Yu no longer increased his speed, and continued to perform these movements according to this optimal speed. Following Qin Yu's movements, the 36 air pillars that contain the silver light seeped into Qin Yu's body. Waves of wonderful numbness were continuously produced, and the muscle strength of his whole body also slowly increased. Just when Qin Yu was immersed in this wonderful feeling. Xiao Yu, it's been 3 days. Why haven't you eaten anything? Su Yuan's voice sounded outside the courtyard. When Qin Yu heard this, he couldn't help but be distracted, and his movements naturally slowed down. However, the moment he slowed down, the silver light in the 36 air pillars that wrapped Qin Yu's whole body suddenly increased, and the density actually doubled. Uncle Su. Just as Qin Yu said this word, he discovered that the numbness in his body increased greatly, and he also discovered the astonishing change just now. What's going on? Wasn't it the optimal state just now? Why did the silver light increase so much when I slowed down? Qin Yu's eyes suddenly lit up, like a torch in the dark night. Qin Yu suddenly felt a burst of excitement in his heart. It seemed that the movements in the 36 pictures weren't so simple. Xiao Yu. Su Yuan's voice sounded again. Qin Yu hurriedly said, Uncle Su, I'm concentrating on training, don't worry. I still have some food and water here. Uncle Su, I won't leave this courtyard. And don't let anyone disturb me. I want to concentrate on training. In other words, closed-door training. In closed-door training, in order to avoid being disturbed, an ordinary expert would prepare some food and water, and then start to concentrate on training in a place where no one would disturb them. Closed-door training? Su Yuan was slightly surprised, but Su Yuan wasn't an ordinary person. He said with a smile, Okay, Xiao Yu, I'll immediately order people to prepare some food and water for you. You can peacefully train here, and no one will disturb you. Thank you, Uncle Su. After Qin Yu finished speaking, he waited for the servants to bring him food and water. After that, he would go into closed-door training alone, and carefully ponder the mystery of the 36 pictures of the Through Heaven diagram. Chapter 56. In Qin Yu's courtyard, no one came to disturb him. Qin Yu's whole body turned into a series of phantoms, constantly moving in the courtyard. No, the speed has slowed down, but the density has not increased, but just now. Qin Yu frowned deeply. At this moment, he was using the 36 diagrams to slow down his movements, but the 36 air pillars that wrapped around his body did not even have the silver light. Qin Yu knows very well that just now, when he heard Su Yuan's words and began to slow down, the density of the holy energy beam in the air suddenly increased. At that moment, those silvery rays of light fused directly into his body like quicksand. Could it be? Qin Yu suddenly thought of a possibility. Suddenly, Qin Yu's movements sped up again, and the 36 intertwined air pillars once again gushed out bits of silver light, which continuously integrated into Qin Yu's body. That speed was what Qin Yu originally thought was the best speed, but suddenly, Qin Yu's speed slowed down. The wind rose, and the spiritual qi of heaven and earth shook, and the density of the 36 air pillars that surrounded Qin Yu's body suddenly increased. Qin Yu's eyes suddenly widened, and the dense silver light integrated into his body like dense silver sand. These silver light spots integrated into Qin Yu's muscles, bones, and meridians one by one, and an extreme feeling of numbness spread throughout his body. Awesome! Qin Yu was unable to restrain himself from shouting loudly. That feeling was indeed unprecedented, and it was 10,000 times more comfortable than a massage. However, in just a moment, the density of the silver light spots suddenly decreased, and it was even worse than the normal speed at the beginning. What's going on? Qin Yu finally stopped, and his heart was completely puzzled. From the looks of it now, it's useless to be fast all the time, and it's even worse to be in a constant state of slowing down. At the beginning it was fast, but at the 16th movement, it suddenly slowed down, and the effect was excellent. Qin Yu thought in his heart. Could it be? Qin Yu's eyes lit up. Could it be that this movement is suitable for both fast and slow movements? Should the fast ones be fast, and the slow ones be slow, and intertwine with each other is the most suitable? When Qin Yu thought of this, he immediately began to experiment. First, move at a constant speed. Suddenly, speed up or slow down at a certain action to determine whether a certain action is suitable for fast or slow. However, the more Qin Yu researched, the more frustrated he became. For example, for the 16th movement, it was right to slow down, but there had to be a limit to how far it could be slowed down. Also fast, how fast did he have to be? Moreover, their movements weren't rigid. They needed to be mediated. For the third movement, the right hand was below the side, while for the fourth movement, the right hand was above the side. Just the trajectory of the transformation required careful study. Different trajectories had different effects. In short, it was extremely difficult to create a perfect cultivation technique, just by relying on these 36 abstruse diagrams. Studying again and again, Qin Yu completely calmed his heart and comprehended. With the passage of time, after an entire month, Qin Yu finally summed up the real cultivation method of this cultivation method, and a brand new, through heaven diagram cultivation method appeared. 1 month later, Qin Yu's figure was seen floating in the courtyard like a gentle wind. When he was fast, it gave people the feeling that he was slow, but when he was slow, his whole body produced afterimages. Strange, extremely strange. The strangest thing was that a silver armor appeared on the surface of Qin Yu's body. No, it wasn't a silver armor, but 36 pure silver pillars of qi that were intertwined on the surface of Qin Yu's body, forming the appearance of armor. These 36 silver pillars of qi were constantly integrated into Qin Yu's body, and at the same time, they were also absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth from the outside to replenish it. How great! Qin Yu suddenly stopped. His whole body swelled, and the 36 silver pillars of qi disappeared. The density of those silvery light dots had changed from the starry dots at the beginning to the current state, where the entire air column was composed of silvery light dots. In the past month, Qin Yu's body had undergone a rapid change. Both his strength and speed had increased by several times. Qin Yu's eyes were slightly closed. The 36 diagrams formed a perfect set of movements. This set of movements was performed one by one in Qin Yu's mind, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Qin Yu had finally figured out the first part of this through heaven diagram cultivation method. Qin Yu suddenly opened his eyes, emitting a dazzling light. I don't know what mysteries there are in the second and third through heaven diagrams. Qin Yu began to look forward to it. When his body was constantly improving, Qin Yu also enjoyed this wonderful feeling very much. Naturally, he looked forward to the other two through heaven diagrams. I remember. Qin Yu suddenly remembered the courtyard where Lian Yan had been killed. When he had been next to Lian Yan's corpse, and used his holy sense to scan the place, He had discovered the aura of the other through heaven diagram. However, at that time, Qin Yu had been immersed in grief and had not paid attention to this matter. Father must have put the second through heaven diagram in the secret treasury. Qin Yu immediately smiled. Qin Yu was qualified to enter the secret treasury. Even if he wanted to take out some treasures, he only needed to inform Qin Da. Qin Yu took out the first through heaven diagram from his bosom and said with a smile, "This first through heaven diagram is no longer of much use to me. Just put it in the secret treasury quietly." Qin Yu did not want his father to know that he was the killer Lu Xing. Of course, his father would not necessarily know that the first through heaven diagram was obtained by the killer Lu Xing. However, just in case, Qin Yu would only hide it in an inconspicuous place in the secret treasury. During the whole month of practicing, Qin Yu did not eat or drink at all. Now that he thinks about it, Qin Yu is very astonished. As far as he knows, to reach the stage of not eating or drinking, one must at least absorb the holy aura of the universe at an astonishing speed. Qin Yu had already absorbed the holy aura of the universe at an extremely fast speed because of the tear of Lu Xing. Now that he has also practiced the mysterious technique of the first through heaven diagram, the holy aura he absorbs has even turned into silvery light spots. It's a good thing to practice so fast. No matter what the reason is, the principles of the mysterious tear of Lu Xing and the mysterious through heaven diagram are not things that I can guess. Qin Yu says with a smile. Afterwards, Qin Yu directly leaves the courtyard house and goes straight to Qin Da's residence. At least it will not be too late to go into the secret treasury after greeting Qin Da first. Third Prince. Outside Qin Da's residence, two guards kneel down on one knee and say, "Pass on the message that I want to see Father." Qin Yu says directly. One of the guards says, "Third Prince, His Royal Highness went into closed-door training half a month ago and still hasn't come out. His Royal Highness has ordered that no matter who it is, no one is to disturb His Royal Highness during his closed-door training." Hearing this, Qin Yu cannot help but be startled. Unexpectedly, his father has also gone into closed-door training. Very well, you can continue to guard. Qin Yu smiles and turns around to leave. Going to the secret treasury is not a big deal even if he does not say anything. The number of guards in the corridor outside the secret treasury has obviously increased. When they see Qin Yu, they do not stop him at all. Qin Yu directly enters the innermost attic. Stepping into a side room of the attic, Qin Yu turns on the mechanism. Following a caw-caw sound, a stone door appeared on the wall of the side room. It was the stone door leading to the secret treasury. Qin Yu directly entered the secret treasury. After that, the stone door rotated and closed again. Chapter 57. The treasure warehouse was a small secret room. On both sides of the secret room, there were two counters made of agarwood. Treasures were placed on the counters one after another. In the center of the secret room, there was a bamboo chair and a natural tea table. In front of the secret room, against the wall, there was an ancient incense burning. Faint smoke spread out from the incense, making the whole secret room have a Zen atmosphere. The first trans-heaven diagram should be hidden in the crack between the counter and the wall on the left. Qin Yu goes to a corner of the wall, then takes out this precious first trans-heaven diagram from his bosom. He looks at it carefully, then stuffs it directly into a crack in the wall. End of B1C3. Qin Yu stood up and nodded with satisfaction. Well, when Father finds this trans-heaven diagram, I don't know how many years it will be. He won't suspect me. Qin Yu didn't want to tell his father that he was the assassin Lu Xing, because in Qin Yu's opinion, it wasn't something to be proud of. After putting the first trans-heaven diagram, Qin Yu glanced at the treasures on the counter, and suddenly found a jade box on the counter. I have a feeling that this is what I'm looking for. Qin Yu smiled and opened the lid of the jade case. A square-shaped jade block appeared on the surface of Qin Yu's body. That soft multicolored light covered the entire square-shaped jade block. Merely by looking at it from the outside, there seemed to be no difference between it and the first block. Qin Yu took this trans-heaven diagram in his hand. On the front of this trans-heaven diagram, there were a few words. trans-heaven diagram too. It's the second one. Qin Yu was overjoyed. According to his understanding, the 3 trans-heaven diagrams must be related to each other. Since he practiced the first one, it was best to get the second one. If it was the third one, he might not be able to practice it. Qin Yu looked at the second trans-heaven diagram, and his eyes suddenly lit up. All his attention was completely focused on this trans-heaven diagram. 36 images. Sure enough, it's just as I expected. There are still 36 images, but this image is completely different from the one on that piece. Qin Yu's soul had become much stronger after the last transformation. He even had a spiritual sense. With a sweep of his holy sense, Qin Yu easily remembers everything he sees in his mind. What Qin Yu wanted the most was these 36 images. As for the others, Qin Yu didn't think too much about it. Even if he thought about it, he might not be able to get it. Until now, Qin Yu still believed that the mysterious cultivation method mentioned by the mysterious super-expert in the legendary War of the Immortals was absolutely not the image on the surface of the trans-heaven diagram. Anyone with a bit of intelligence would think so. If it was so simple, it would have been comprehended long ago. The most important thing was, could he reach the level of the mysterious man in the legend just by exercising his body? After carefully examining the second trans-heaven diagram with his soul sense, Qin Yu still couldn't find any other mysteries. He could only put it back with a smile. Qin Yu, you are too stupid. In the past, these 3 trans-heaven diagrams were obtained by countless self-cultivators, and they didn't find any mysteries. How can you find it with your soul sense? Qin Yu was very satisfied with the 36 images of the second trans-heaven diagram. Hee. I haven't looked carefully at the treasures in the secret treasury. Qin Yu smiled, and then spread out his soul sense, covering the whole secret treasury. Qin Yu's soul sense could reach hundreds of meters, so it was naturally easy for him to find a small secret room. Such a big peephole is really attractive. That horsetail whisk doesn't seem to be anything special, Qin Yu commented with a smile. Suddenly, the smile on Qin Yu's face froze. No, it can't be. Qin Yu's soul sense clearly discovered a secret, and Qin Yu couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Qin Yu foolishly stretched out his hand and took out the second trans-heaven diagram from the jade box. Then, Qin Yu slightly pressed a small mechanism on the side of the jade box. With a click, Qin Yu actually easily opened another layer of the jade box. This jade box actually had 2 layers. Qin Yu originally thought that this jade box was only thicker at the bottom, but it turned out that there were 2 layers. And the second layer was surprisingly another square jade block. The soft colorful light and the clear handwriting told Qin Yu the identity of this square jade block. The third trans-heaven diagram. God, my luck can't be so good, right? Qin Yu was completely excited at this moment. He had actually obtained the legendary 3 trans-heaven diagrams. Of course, Qin Yu couldn't understand the mystery of them. He was only interested in the 36 mysterious pictures. Qin Yu heaved a long sigh and secretly sighed. Fortunately, if I hadn't used my soul sense to check, I wouldn't have known that there was a trans-heaven diagram under this jade box. This third trans-heaven diagram was similar to the first 2, and it also had 36 different pictures. Qin Yu immediately began to carefully memorize the pictures. Qin Yu didn't know that when Qin Shi Huang obtained the 3 trans-heaven diagrams at the same time, although he couldn't understand the mystery of them, he had also learned the movements of the pictures like Qin Yu. But Qin Shi Huang found that these movements were completely useless, so he naturally gave up. After the fall of the Qin dynasty, the first and second of the 3 trans-heaven diagrams were lost in the chaos of war. Only the third trans-heaven diagram had been hidden by the Qin family for thousands of years. When Qin De obtained the second trans-heaven diagram, he naturally placed it together with the third. At noon 3 days later, Qin Yu was in his courtyard, carefully experiencing the movements of the 36 pictures of the second trans-heaven diagram. Qin Yu's movements were sometimes fast and sometimes slow. When he was fast, he was much faster than when he practiced the first picture. When he was slow, he was even slower than when he practiced the first picture. But even if his movements were slow, several phantoms appeared on Qin Yu's whole body, which was very strange. Outsiders didn't know, but Qin Yu himself knew the reason. Qin Yu was practicing this mysterious body refining technique, which he temporarily named the Trans-Heaven Mysterious Technique. When practicing this technique, Qin Yu's surroundings were affected by him. The air on the surface of Qin Yu's body was distorted, which caused the phantoms to appear. The surface of Qin Yu's body is still surrounded by 36 energy streams. Only these energy streams have changed from silvery to alternating silvery and golden colors. Qin Yu has a premonition that when he succeeds in mastering the 36 diagrams of the second Trans-Heaven diagram, the 36 silvery energy streams will perhaps turn into golden energy streams. Third Prince, His Highness has come out of seclusion. He has summoned you to Mingshan Pavilion. A servant's voice came from outside the courtyard. Hearing this, Qin Yu stopped practicing. Father has come out of seclusion. Qin Yu wiped himself a little with a towel and stretched himself a little. His whole body crackled. His powerful muscles transmitted through his body like mercury. Practicing this technique, Qin Yu's body improved by leaps and bounds. His strength and speed both reached a whole new level. Now even if Qin Yu wanted to deal with Jinsu, he could probably kill him easily. Qin Yu moved his facial muscles and smiled. He then left the courtyard directly and hurried to Mingshan Pavilion. Qin De, Su Yuan, Qin Feng, Qin Zheng, Qin Yu, the chief steward of the prince's mansion Gamin, the blue-clad old man, the gray-clad old man, and the Zionist Fenjiazi. There were 9 people in total. Qin De was the 9 people at the top of the group. Fenjiazi had set up a mysterious restriction formation around Mingshan Pavilion, so that no sound could be heard outside. Qin De and Fenjiazi's expressions were very serious. Seeing such an atmosphere, Qin Yu felt that this matter seemed to be very important. Chapter 58. Qin De glances at everybody then says, "There's a very important matter for me to call everybody here so urgently. But whether it's good or bad, even I can't say for sure." There is a forced smile on Qin De's face. So does Fenjiazi on one side. "Father, what's the matter that's making you like this?" Qin Zheng asks at once. Qin Yu, Qin Feng, and the others all look at Qin De. Qin De shakes his head and says helplessly, "It's only been a little more than a year since I reached the peak of the Xiantian realm. But when I was doing closed-door training recently, I suddenly had a premonition that, in half a year my 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation will come. 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. The first heavenly tribulation to become a Zionist, commonly known as minor heavenly tribulation, is the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation." Everybody is dumbfounded. Of the super experts who have reached the peak of the Xiantian realm, some are afraid of the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation, but some also want to overcome it to become a Zionist. However, it is not so easy to encounter the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. Some people who have reached the peak of the Xiantian realm for dozens of years, or even hundreds of years, have not been able to wait for the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. Some people who have just reached the peak of the Xiantian realm have already sensed when their 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation will come. This is determined by a person's understanding of the way of heaven. Who would have thought that Qin De, who has been practicing for dozens of years, is even more formidable than Lien Yan in martial arts, and has unexpectedly sensed the arrival of the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. But is this a good thing? To overcome the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation, especially with the Qianlong continent's practice method, without the help of a Zionist school, it is almost impossible to succeed. Now the army is about to be mobilized. If Qin De fails to overcome the tribulation and dies on the spot, things will be terrible. But if he succeeds in overcoming the tribulation, the Qin clan will have one more Zionist, and its power will increase greatly. It's a pity that the probability of success is too low. How is this possible? Even Senior didn't encounter the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation for so many years. Your Highness, Su Yuan's heart was in a mess. He had followed Qin De for so many years. The two of them were master and subordinate, but they also had brotherly feelings. The 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. The probability of success is too low. The 3 in 9 heavenly tribulation of Ziationists is extremely abnormal. Father. Qin Yu, Qin Feng and Qin Zheng all look at Qin Da, their eyes filled with anxiety. 49 heavenly tribulations. This meant that their father would probably die in half a year. Although they loved their father, they had to admit that the heavenly tribulations were too difficult. You Feng Zheng you two are older brothers. You're all adults, yet you're still acting like this. I'm a real man. Since I can't escape from the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation, I'll go through it. If I succeed, it'll be a happy event. If I fail, it's nothing. Qinda's resolute face was very carefree and happy. But father, the 49 heavenly tribulations. Qin Yu's heart ached. Grandpa Lian had just passed away. If his father died in the heavenly tribulation, then, just thinking about it made Qin Yu's heart tremble. I know that the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation is very dangerous. Your grandfather also died during the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. However, the heavenly tribulation was unavoidable. Men must be brave enough to face it. Even if they die, they must try their best. Qinda's voice became firm. Looking at his father's eyes, Qin Yu had no choice but to nod his head. Today, I've called everybody here to make some arrangements for the future. From now on, Zheng will be in charge of all the affairs of the Qin family. That is to say, from now on, I'll only be responsible for guiding the family from behind. Zheng will make his own decisions. Qinda gave a direct order. Yes, father. Qin Zheng's voice was not excited at all. In the past few years, Qin Zheng had been in charge of most affairs. Now Qinda's words meant that he was giving Qin Zheng all the power. Qinda had 3 sons. The eldest son, Qin Yu, was good at leading troops in battle. The second son, Qin Yu, was good at government affairs. The third son, Qinda, was very free. At least Qinda did not restrict Qin Yu. Qin Yu could do whatever he wanted. Feng you must work hard. Your position in the Qin family's army is completely determined by your military exploits. Qinda stared at Qin Feng and said. Qin Feng nodded in agreement. Qin Feng himself was a Xiantian expert. In addition, he was very good at leading troops in battle. He even had 100,000 troops under his command. Even though his status as a princely heir played a role, his own strength was still very important. Qinda looked at Qin Yu. In fact, Qinda felt that he owed his third son the most. However, at this moment, he did not want to say too many sentimental words. After staring at Qin Yu for a long time, Qinda slowly said, You can do whatever you want. I won't restrict you. But I just want to give you a word of advice. Remember, do whatever you think is right. The men of the Qin family shouldn't be overcautious and afraid of death. Hearing this, Qin Yu's blood boiled in his heart. Yes, father. Qin Yu said resolutely. Qinda smiled. On one side, Finjiuzi said, I've already discussed it with His Highness. Half a year later, when everything in the Qin family goes on as usual, His Highness and I will take some Xiantian experts to a secret place to receive the heavenly tribulation. As for the 3 princesses, they can't go with us. That's right. I've already decided who will go with us. At that time, Manager Gu, some other Xiantian experts and some other experts will go with me. Zheng you 3 can't go with us. Qinda spoke resolutely and decisively. He absolutely did not allow anyone to oppose him. Nobody knew whether Xiang Guang had received the news that Qinda was going to undergo the heavenly tribulation. Once he did, he would definitely send experts to sabotage the plan. The Xiantian experts who went with Qinda would all be in danger. Qinda could not risk his son's life. Qin Zheng was the future East vanquishing prince. He had great power, so naturally he could not have any accidents. Qin Feng was the army's commander-in-chief, so he could not be used as an ordinary expert bodyguard. Once an accident happened, it would be terrible. As for Qin Yu, Father, I'll go with you. Qin Yu says in a loud and clear voice. I know it'll be dangerous to go with you. Big brother and second brother are both shouldering heavy responsibilities, and they can't have any accidents. But I'm not very useful in the matter of raising the army. I can't manage political affairs or military affairs. No. Qinda suddenly says, cutting off Qin Yu's words. Why? Yu immediately stands up and says, "Why not? Father, do you still remember what you said just now? Do what you think is right. Men of the Qin clan shouldn't be overcautious and afraid of death. Now I want you to go with me. I think it's right. I'm not afraid of death. I only want to go with you." Yu stares at Qinda. He simply does not back down in the slightest. Do you know how dangerous this is? I don't know how many Xiantian experts that Xiangguang has, and I'm not worried either. But they have two Shangxian, two of them. Your Uncle Feng can only block one of them. If the two Shangxian come together, it'll be extremely dangerous. Do you know that? Qinda says hurriedly. Dangerous? Could it be that I'm afraid of danger? Yu gives an indifferent smile. He simply does not allow Qinda to refuse. Qinda says with a shake of his head. This time all the people going will be experts, Xiantian experts. You're just an external martial artist. What's the use of going there? You won't be of any use at all. On the contrary, when it's dangerous, you'll probably get us into trouble. Therefore you'd better give up that idea. Xiantian? Yu bursts out laughing. After becoming a Xiantian expert, Yu wanted to tell this news to his father. However, because of Lian Yan's death, Yu was so grieved that he forgot to tell his father. Afterwards, Yu began to practice the techniques in the trans-heaven diagrams. Qinda then undertook closed-door training, so naturally he never had time to tell his father. Take this! Yu suddenly shouts loudly. His body darts directly at the blue-clad old man like a flash of lightning. The blue-clad old man and the gray-clad old man are both super experts under Yu's command. They are at the same level as Lian Yan, and are usually in charge of the Heavenly Net's affairs. As a peak Xiantian expert, the blue-clad old man is terrifyingly powerful. Third Prince. The blue-clad old man reaches out his hand smilingly. Humph! Yu utters a cold humph. The whole air starts to vibrate. His right fist turns into a thunderclap. Yu, who has mastered the first trans-heaven diagram and reached the second trans-heaven diagram, shows his real power for the first time. After going through such a long period of transformation, what level has his power actually reached? The faces of everybody present all change color. The blue-clad old man knows the situation is bad. He immediately stirs up the Xiantian internal energy in his body, and his right palm turns golden. Fist against palm. Pung. A violent vibration is heard. The blue-clad old man only feels a terrifyingly powerful force. It's pure physical strength, without the slightest bit of internal energy. That terrifying force is transmitted into his body through his palm. The physical strength is pure and fierce. The blue-clad old man cannot help backing away. Afterwards, with a cracking sound, the railing is broken. He finally crashes into the inhibition formation, set up by Finjiuzi, and stops. Everybody looks at Yu, their eyes filled with shock. Yu stares at his father expressionlessly. Father, do you think I'm qualified to follow you? I'm a Xiantian master, the first Xiantian external expert in the history of the Qianlong continent. I can also be considered a Xiantian master. Yu's voice shocks everybody present. A Xiantian external expert. From ancient times until now, when it came to external martial arts, people would only think of it as difficult, painful, thankless, with no future, at most reaching the limit of the Hotian realm. However, from today onwards, everyone present knew that external martial arts could also reach the Xiantian realm. So powerful. If the third prince uses a middle-grade spirit weapon, it's hard to say whether I can defeat him. At this moment, the blue-clad old man still feels the pain in his right arm. Yu's power has far surpassed the realm when he fought with Jinsu. After practicing the Tongtian mysterious skill, and being transformed by the mysterious silver light and the golden light, Yu has undergone earth-shaking changes compared to the time when he fought with Jinsu. Qinda looks at Yu. No one knows how great the shock in his heart is at the moment. This third son before him, whom he has never placed much hope in, and who practices the most arduous and most unpromising external technique, has unexpectedly reached such a terrifying level at the age of 18 without him, his father noticing. Moreover, he has become an unprecedented Xiantian external expert. End of B3C13. Father. Yu speaks again. He is waiting for his father's answer. Chinda is silent for a long time. Then he slowly shakes his head. No. Chapter 59. After telling his father that he has become a Xiantian expert, Qin Yu's heart is filled with excitement. He wants to obtain his father's affirmation and praise. Now he can finally let his father know that he is not a useless person. No. Hearing his father's words, Qin Yu's body shakes. His face immediately turns deathly pale. He stares at Chinda with eyes full of disbelief and anger. Why? Why not? Qin Yu keeps saying. It seems he simply cannot accept Chinda's answer. Qin Yu's eyes become misty. Since he was 8 years old, he has been working hard day and night. Every day, he has been doing extreme training non-stop. He has neither the happiness of his peers nor the care of his parents. He has not even had a peer of his own age. 10 years have been like a day. Thanks to his hard work and a bit of luck, he has finally reached his current level of power. Qin Yu has been training so hard for 10 years, but he has not complained at all. Why is that? It is because he wants to reach the Xiantian level, so that he can help his father, make him happy and make him proud of him. Father, didn't you just say that reaching the Xiantian level is enough? Now my power is far greater than that of ordinary Xiantian experts. I can even fight against peak Xiantian experts. Why don't you allow me to go with you? Qin Yu stares at his father. His eyes are full of anger and unwillingness. Qin Yu's angry and unreconciled look causes Qin Yu's heart to slightly tremble. Calm down. Chinda shouts coldly. Qin Yu takes a deep breath and says, All right, I'll calm down. Father, tell me what's the reason? If you can't convince me, I won't give up no matter what. All right. Chinda immediately says. Once I'm going to undergo the tribulation, I'll definitely choose a hidden place. Your Uncle Feng will also go with me. Of course. The news that I'm going to undergo the tribulation will be kept very secret. There are only 2 possibilities. First, if Xiang Guang and the others can't find out that I'm going to undergo the tribulation, and nobody comes to disturb me, that's naturally a good thing. It doesn't matter if you go or not. Secondly, if Xiang Guang learns that I'm going through the tribulation, 2 Shangxian will come together. Even though you're pretty powerful, the power of Shangxian who have undergone the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation and become Zayashinists is simply beyond your imagination. Chinda says with a sigh. Although it's only a 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation, the difference between an ordinary peak Xiantian expert and a Zayashinist is like heaven and earth. A simple flying sword attack from a cultivator can easily cut off your head. If you go, you will be of no use at all. You will only die innocently. So in both cases, you won't be of any help. Instead, you might die. Qin Yu stared at Chinda. This is why I didn't let you go. When Qin Yu heard that, he fell silent. However, the silent Qin Yu was exuding a chaotic aura. The stronger the soul, the stronger the aura. Although Qin Yu didn't mean it, everyone could feel the aura he was emitting. No one knew what Qin Yu was thinking. Xiaoyu, Qin Zheng and Qin Feng both looked at their younger brother. Father, do you still remember? Qin Yu simply did not pay attention to his second-year big brother. Instead, he continued to talk to himself. Before I was 6 years old, you were so concerned about me and often accompanied me. At that time, I was so happy and carefree. In my heart, Father was the wisest and most powerful person. However, when I was 6 years old, I was sent to Misty Villa. Qin Yu lowered his head and said in a low voice. He seemed to be talking to himself, but also seemed to be talking to Chinda. Everybody quieted down. In Misty Mountain Villa, I was the only 6-year-old child. The others were either servants or guards. There was no one to play with me. I was all alone. At that time, I watched the sun rise and then watched the sun set, hoping that Imperial Father would come and see me. I didn't know how many times I was disappointed. Finally, Father came. But he left very quickly. Then I continued to look forward to him. But he didn't come. For 2 whole years, Father only came to Misty Villa once. Qin Yu was still saying slowly. Everybody present thought of a 6 or 7-year-old child, watching the sunrise and sunset, looking forward to his father's arrival, but being disappointed again and again. Chinda's lips slightly moved, but he didn't say anything. He had nothing to say. Of his 3 sons, the one he felt the most guilty about was his 3rd son. He spent the least time with Chinyu, cared for him the least, and spent the least amount of time with him. I was thinking, why didn't father come to see me? Could it be that I was disobedient and made father angry? Or was it because I was too annoying? If I didn't do well enough, father could tell me. I could change. But I wasn't stupid. Big brother practiced martial arts and second brother studied politics. Father often guided big brother and second brother, and often went to see them. I finally understood, father didn't think I could become a talent, so he didn't care about me. Chinyu bit his lips and his eyes flashed. After thinking about it, I decided to practice and become an expert. But my dantian couldn't store internal strength, and I could only practice external strength. In the first year, it was Master Zhao Yunxing who taught me. Every day, I started to practice at the first glimmer of dawn. Limit training is indeed a training that surpasses physical limits. Every time, I felt extremely painful and exhausted. I was so tired that I really couldn't go on. But as soon as I thought that I could make father happy in the future, I clenched my teeth and went on. Chinyu slowly says. Chinda's eyes were moist. When I was 16, father told me some secrets. I finally understood that it wasn't that father didn't love me, but he had his own things to do, and he didn't have time to take care of me. Looking at father, big brother and second brother working hard for the future, I, a descendant of the Qin family, couldn't help at all. I could only watch from the side. That night, father said that only when I reached the Xiantian realm would he allow me to lead troops to kill the enemy. At that time, I decided that no matter what, I would become a Xiantian master. Qinyu's face suddenly had a trace of a smile. 10 years, 10 whole years, I finally succeeded. I was lucky, but at the same time, I also worked hard. But no matter what, I finally reached today's realm. Chinyu suddenly raises his head. A fierce aura emanates from his body. Since ancient times, people have always said that external techniques have no future, and basically can't reach the Xiantian level. But I didn't believe that. I've been trying all along. Sure enough, I've finally done it. Chinyu's face had a trace of arrogance. How could an 18-year-old who could practice to the level of a Xiantian complete internal expert not have arrogance? Moreover, Chinyu practiced external strength, which was known to be much more difficult than internal strength. Xiantian external expert. And now I've made a lot of progress compared to when I first stepped into the Xiantian realm. My strength has also increased a lot. I want to tell this news to father, because I think that once father knows that I'm a Xiantian master, he will treat me like big brother and second brother, and put me in an important position. I can also help father. Chinyu stared at his father and suddenly his face turned pale. Haha. I was wrong, very wrong. Chinyu suddenly became emotional and said to his father in a loud voice. Father, when I was weak, you didn't use me and didn't let me help you. I didn't blame you. I clenched my teeth and worked hard. But now, I'm far more powerful than an ordinary Xiantian master. You still don't let me help you. You still let me hide on the side and watch you go through dangers while I can sit back and relax. Father, do you think this is because you care about me? No, it's not at all. I feel sad. Haha. I practiced hard every day and every night. I gave up the fun of my peers. I gave up everything and devoted myself to practice. 10 years. Haha, 10 years. What was the point of my practice in the past 10 years? What's the point of practicing to this realm? Chinyu's tears flowed down uncontrollably from his face. His goal for the past 10 years. Now Chinyu found that his most determined persistence for the past 10 years was in vain. How sad he was. Father, I know how terrible the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation is. If you fail to cross it. Chinyu's body trembled. He couldn't imagine what a huge blow it would be to him if his father died. If you are gone, what's the point of my persistence for the past 10 years? I can't help you at all with my practice. In any case, father, at least you can let me play a little bit of role. In this way, I can die without regret. But, you didn't give me a chance. You didn't even give me a chance. You only said that I can't help you at all. Father, you didn't even give me a chance. Why are you so sure that I can't help you? Why? Why? Chinyu roars at Chinda at the top of his lungs with bloodshot eyes. Suddenly Chinyu laughed bitterly. I know, Father, I, your third son, have always been useless in your heart, right? No matter what I do, I'm useless. Even if I reach the Xiantian realm, I'm still useless. I was useless in the past, and I'm also useless now. Father, I think that even if you raise the army in the future, I'm just a Xiantian master. I don't think you'll pay much attention to me. Chinda was speechless. Indeed, even if there was a war in the future, it would be a war between armies of 100,000 soldiers. A Xiantian master wouldn't play a big role in such a war. Chinda didn't care about Chinyu's role in the future war. Seeing Chinda's expression, Chinyu laughed. Haha, I'm useless, the most useless one. No matter how hard I try, no matter how much I practice, I'll always be the most useless one. It's funny, for so many years, what have I been practicing? What's the use of practicing? Chinyu laughed out loud. However, he then started to cry silently. His tears slowly flowed down. Chinda looks at Chinyu in front of him, his third son, whom he has never cared about, and suddenly feels extremely guilty and heartbroken. However, he opens his mouth, but cannot say a single word. He simply does not know what to say. End of B1C9. Indeed, in Chinda's mind, Chinyu is basically useless in his plan. What Chinyu said is not wrong at all. I'm stupid, really stupid. Chinyu shook his head and smiled bitterly. Xiaoyu. When Qin Zheng and Qin Feng were just about to say something, Chinyu reached out his hand to stop them. Chinyu took a deep breath, looked at Chinda and said calmly, Father, I'm sorry, I forgot myself. For the first time, the feelings that had been suppressed in his heart for so many years burst out completely. You are father. Seeing that Chinda wanted to say something, Chinyu said with a forced smile. Father, my mind is in a mess right now. I need to calm down. Don't worry, Father, I won't bother you anymore. At least I won't come back to bother you for half a year before the tribulation. Chinyu looked at Fenjiuzi and said, Uncle Feng, could you help me undo the restrictive spells around here? Fenjiuzi immediately sent out streams of energy to undo the restrictive spells. Chinyu raised his head and let out a whistle. Then a black flash of lightning swooped down from the sky. Chinyu's body moved as fast as lightning, leaving behind several afterimages. He had already climbed onto the back of the Black Eagle 10m in the air. Chinyu sat on the back of the Black Eagle. Suddenly, he slightly leaned forward and hugged the eagle's neck. For so many years, Xiaohei had always been with Chinyu. Sticking close to Xiaohei's warm feathers, Chinyu's heart calmed down. He gently patted Xiaohei and said, Xiaohei, let's go back to Misty Villa. Xiaohei also felt Chinyu's grief at this moment. With a flap of its wings, a strong wind suddenly rose. The Black Eagle had already flown high into the sky. In just a moment, it disappeared into the horizon. Chinda's complexion was extremely pale. He looked like a sick person. Chinda looked up at the sky. He knew that Chinyu had left. He wouldn't leave for at least half a year. This half a year might be his last half a year in this world. Chinyu's words were like knives that cut into his heart. However, Chinda knew that his son was suffering more than him. Although Chinda was grieving, he felt even more guilty, incomparably guilty. But in this life, would he, Chinda, still have time to make up for it? Chapter 60. On the top of Mount Donglan, a golden silhouette is moving extremely fast. It is as ethereal and unreal as mist. Beside it, a huge black eagle is flapping its wings. Its sharp eyes are fixed on that golden silhouette all the time. This golden silhouette and that eagle are none other than Chinyu and Xiaohei. Chinyu had been cultivating like this for more than 20 days. During these 20 days, Chinyu didn't rest, eat or drink. However, Chinyu's spirit was getting better and better. Compared to when he had just left the mansion, Chinyu was much sharper. Suddenly the golden figure stopped. The 36 golden pillars of energy completely dissipated. Chinyu's lonely figure appeared. The 36 diagrams of the second sky traversing diagram have all been completed. Chinyu looks at the skin all over his body. When he slightly exerts his power, there is a faint golden light flowing at the bottom of his skin. It is very miraculous. Moreover, Qin discovers that his body has reached a new level. Strength? Qin could no longer accurately measure his current body with strength. Xiaohei, let's go. Qin called out to Xiaohei. Xiaohei immediately cried out excitedly. Then, Qin sat on Xiaohei's back. Xiaohei flapped its wings and directly left Donglan Mountain, starting another journey. At the first branch of Skynet, it was already late winter. The sky was filled with white snow. The courtyard of the branch was covered with a thick layer of snow. Qin directly stepped on the snow, leaving behind a layer of faint footprints. As the snowflakes fell, the footprints also disappeared in a moment. Mr. Lu Xing, please sit. A charming woman placed a mission list in front of Qin. Qin directly opened the gold medal mission and looked at the resumes of these mission targets. Qin didn't care about the strength of the other party when accepting a mission. He only looked at the other party's character. If the other party was evil, Qin would accept it. If the other party was kind, Qin wouldn't accept it. Of course, Qin wouldn't be so bored as to protect that kind person. The sixth item of the gold medal mission, Qin said coldly. That coquettish woman immediately assigns him a task, then slightly winks at Qin and says teasingly, Mr. Lu Xing, it's snowing heavily right now. Why don't you stay here for a night? It won't be too late to leave after the snow stops tomorrow. As she spoke, the charming woman stretched out her slender right hand and held Qin hand. Let go, Qin said calmly. That charming woman covers her mouth and says with a smile, Mr. Lu Xing is really. When she is about to say something, she feels a shock coming from Qin hand. Her hand cannot help going numb, and she has no choice but to let go. Qin immediately turned and stepped into the heavy snow. The charming woman looked at that figure in the heavy snow. Suddenly, that figure transformed into multiple afterimages and then disappeared from her field of vision. You dare to kill me? You're courting death. Ghostly flame hand, kill him for me. A fat man said arrogantly. The golden-masked Qin had a hint of a cold smile at the corner of his mouth. Yes. A bald, one-armed man looked at Qin and sneered. Gold medal assassin. As an assassin, you actually didn't assassinate us in secret. Instead, you openly blocked our path. How stupid of you. You should be proud that you're going to die at the hands of my ghostly flame hand. Qin shook his head slightly and said to himself, Middle stage Xiantian. Too weak. Swish. Qin transformed into a streak of light and flashed past the bald, one-armed man. The bald, one-armed man was completely stupefied. And then, two miserable screams sounded out as Qin figure disappeared as well. Having completed his mission, Qin naturally left. My right hand. My right hand is finished. Ghostly flame hand looked at his only remaining hand, stunned. Just then, Qin speed was simply too fast. He didn't give him any chance to resist at all before chopping off his only remaining hand. And then, using an astonishing speed, he chopped off the fat man's head with a single chop, and then left with the fat man's head. From beginning to end, only an instant had passed. As expected, after successfully training in the second trans-heaven diagram, my power has increased to a whole new level. Plus, after taking off the dark steel arm guards, dark steel leg guards, and this black gold undershirt, my speed is so fast that even a peak Xiantian expert would at most be on the same level as me. Qin had a confident smile on his face. After training in the second trans-heaven diagram, Qin strength had increased greatly. His body had also undergone a transformation. In terms of toughness alone, ordinary dark steel weapons couldn't even injure him. Qin physical defense had already caught up to the black gold undershirt. Therefore, Qin took off the black gold undershirt and the dark steel arm guards and leg guards. After all, to someone like Qin who had reached such a realm, carrying weights while training wasn't of much use. Mr. Lu Xing is really fast. The mission was completed in a short while. The woman who received Qin said with a charming smile. Qin received the reward and flipped through the mission list. He said directly, Gold mission number 3. In 3 whole months, Qin actually received 9 gold missions. On average, he received 3 gold missions per month. Qin Yu easily completed all 9 gold missions. All the opponents he met were directly killed by Qin Yu, no matter what level they were at. There were even 2 late Xiantian experts among them. Even when facing a late Xiantian expert, Qin Yu didn't use the flaming sword or the flaming gloves. He killed the opponent with just his hands. The opponent didn't even have the slightest ability to resist. With Qin Yu's current strength, even if he didn't use his hands, he was already able to fight a peak Xiantian expert. The silver and gold light of the 2 trans-heaven diagrams had really changed the body too much. This was also the reason why Qin Yu had made such progress. Mr. Lu Xing actually didn't accept any missions? The woman who received Qin Yu was puzzled. Looking at the records, it was obvious that Qin Yu had accepted 9 missions in a row. She originally thought that he would continue to accept missions. Could it be that I've been wasting my time on missions? Humph, the targets of these missions are not challenging at all. Qin Yu took the reward and said indifferently before leaving. Obviously, Qin Yu's mentality had changed. He was not as indifferent as he was 3 months ago. A person came from the back of the mission reception hall. Looking at Qin Yu's back, he slightly frowned and said, "Not challenging at all? Even late Xiantian experts are not challenging?" In a nameless mountain forest. It has been more than 2 months. Qin Yu has stayed in this nameless mountain forest for more than 2 months. He has been practicing the 3rd trans-heaven diagram here all the time. With the experience of practicing the previous 2 diagrams, it is naturally very easy for Qin Yu to practice this trans-heaven diagram. But what surprised Qin Yu was that the 3rd trans-heaven diagram was completely different from the first 2 diagrams. Because the 3rd trans-heaven diagram actually produced purple Xiantianjin qi. This Xiantianjin qi seeped into every part of Qin Yu's body. No matter if it was his dantian muscles, bones, meridians, as long as it was Qin Yu's body, there would be Xiantianjin qi. Ha! Qin Yu, whose whole body was surrounded by 36 purple qi pillars, rushed down from the sky like lightning. Then he fiercely smashed his right leg on the ground. Strangely, the ground was not damaged at all. But the whole ground started to vibrate. After a while, boom! The ground within a radius of 10 meters exploded, creating a cloud of dust. When the dust settled, a huge hole with a radius of 10 meters and a depth of 10 meters appeared. The 1st and 2nd trans-heaven diagrams only took 1 month to reach the Desheng level. But this 3rd trans-heaven diagram actually took more than 2 months. Qin Yu stopped, and the 36 purple qi pillars disappeared. The purple halo on the surface of his body also gradually disappeared. From the outside to the inside. Compared to the first 2 trans-heaven diagrams, the 3rd trans-heaven diagram was the most powerful. Not only did it strengthen the body, it also produced the unique purple Xiantianjin qi of the trans-heaven mysterious skill. It's already been half a year. It's almost time for father to pass his tribulation. Qin Yu sighed in his heart. Suddenly he lost the joy of increasing his strength. Chapter 61. For the past 6 months, Qin Yu had been thinking about what he should do in this world. Should he just follow the crowd, get married, have children, and then grow old like an ordinary person? No. Qin Yu simply could not accept this path in his heart. Since he was young, Qin Yu had set his goal to become an expert so that he could help his father. But now, maybe I was wrong from the beginning. People can't always live for others. In this way, not only will I be tired, but it will also bring a lot of pressure to my father. Qin Yu slowly walked to the edge of a small lake in the mountain forest. Looking at the curved blue waves in front of him, Qin Yu's heart was constantly thinking. For the past 6 months, although Qin Yu had been cultivating and taking on missions, his heart was always thinking, what should I do in this world? This was what Qin Yu was thinking. In Qin Yu's heart, there was a desire, a faint desire. But Qin Yu had never dared to completely burst out his desire. In his heart, Qin Yu enjoyed the pleasure of life and death battles the most. He enjoyed the feeling of breaking through the limits. Cultivators, the overseas immortal islands, the cultivation world. This was the desire hidden in Qin Yu's heart. When he heard Fingiuzi's description of the cultivation world, Qingyu was filled with a desire for this cultivation world. In the past, his strength was not enough, but the opportunity brought by the trans-heaven diagram. Qingyu took a deep breath. He yearned for the life of a cultivator, up to the highest heavens, down to the depths of the ocean, fighting with demon beasts, fighting with cultivators for treasures, fighting with heaven and earth, and pursuing the limits of life. Qingyu yearned for that kind of hot-blooded, passionate life, but to choose that kind of life, one needs strength, and two needs determination. One needs the strength of a cultivator, and one needs the determination to be alone. His father and brothers could not accompany him, to take risks and wander with him. Could Qingyu bear to leave his father and brothers? Remember, do what you think is right. My Qin family's men should not be afraid of the slightest thing and fear death. Qingyu's father's words rang in his ears again. Qingyu suddenly smiled. That's right, in this world, why should we be afraid of the slightest thing? Moreover, my life in the past was also wrong. I shouldn't have lived for others. That way, I would have tired Imperial Father. I wanted to live for myself. Father has big brother and second brother, so I will pursue my own life. Qingyu's eyes lit up. Xiaohei, after father's tribulation, I will pursue my own life. Do you want to follow me? Qingyu said as he stroked Xiaohei's head. Xiaohei immediately spread his wings and gently patted Qingyu's back. Xiaohei kept nodding his head. Qingyu smiled when he saw this. No matter what, at least he had Xiaohei to accompany him. Xiaohei, let's go. A boring life is just a waste of time. Let's go take a look at the Heavenly Net's missions and see if there are any difficult ones. Qingyu immediately jumps onto Xiaohei's back. Xiaohei immediately flapped his wings and disappeared like a beam of light. Qingda sits in the main seat. The blue-clad old man, Steward Gumin and Fingiuzi also sit down in order. The location has been chosen. Everything is almost done. Now we only need to wait for 37 days, Qingda said coldly. The later he goes, the clearer he feels that the heavenly tribulation is coming. 37 days later, it will be the day of his tribulation, the blue-clad old man said with a nod. In the wilderness there are many demonic beasts. There are also many demonic beasts that have reached the Jindan stage. Even if Wu De and Wu Xing discover the heavenly tribulation in the wilderness, they will definitely think it is a demonic beast undergoing a tribulation. In this way, once your highness succeeds in overcoming the tribulation, the Xiang clan will not know that we have such an expert as your highness on our side. The location chosen by your highness is indeed very good. Gumin also agrees. Qingda shakes his head and says with a smile, everything has to wait until I can survive the heavenly tribulation. All right, Brother Feng, Steward Gu, you can go back first. I have something to discuss with Lan Yi. Goodbye, your highness. Gumin bows and says. Fingiuzi only slightly folds his hands in obeisance. Then the two of them leave. The blue-clad old man and the gray-clad old man are the two people in charge of the heavenly net. Usually Qingda only calls these two old men by their code names Blue Robe and Gray Robe. In fact, he has never called them by their real names. This time, Qingda asked the blue-clad old man to go with him to the wilderness to undergo the tribulation. The gray-clad old man will continue to preside over the operation of the heavenly net. Lan Yi, this time Uncle Lien will send 5 late-stage Xiantian experts from the Secret Arrow team, led by Steward Gu. On your side of the heavenly net, find some late-stage Xiantian experts from the internal network. At the same time, invite this killer Lu Xing to come here. There is a faint smile on the corners of Qingda's mouth. The blue-clad old man also smiles faintly. The heavenly net is divided into the internal network and the external network. However, the people of the external network are not under their direct control. They can only invite them. As the leader of the heavenly net, Qingda has been paying close attention to this killer Lu Xing. That killer Lu Xing is extremely powerful. According to my subordinates, he has taken 9 missions in a row and succeeded with ease. Some of the targets were late-stage Xiantian experts, but when faced with this killer Lu Xing, they were all killed. His power should have reached the peak of the Xiantian realm. The blue-clad old man evaluates. What Qinda needs now is experts, absolute experts. That day, Qinda told Qinyu that a peak Xiantian expert has no power to resist a Ziotionist. It can be said that he is right, but not completely right. If it is a one-on-one battle, of course it will be so. However, if 5 or 6 peak Xiantian experts join forces and use middle-grade holy weapons, it will be a different story. Peak Xiantian experts are extremely fast as lightning. If 5 or 6 of them attack at the same time, it will be really hard for a Jin Dan stage Ziotionist to deal with them. Once the body is destroyed, the Ziotionist will be finished. Ziosionists only have mysterious true elemental force. The structure of the body is similar to that of ordinary people. Once the heart is shattered, they will still die. What Qinda needs is a peak Xiantian expert, or at least a late-stage Xiantian expert. However, a peak Xiantian expert is too rare. Now, according to Qinda's judgment, this killer Lu Xing is a peak Xiantian expert. Moreover, according to the missions this killer Lu Xing has taken, he is trustworthy. Lan Yi, you invite him personally. If necessary, you can use force to slightly deter him. Of course, you can't tell him the location of the tribulation, nor my identity. When the time comes, let him come with us. Qinda says. He is not afraid of this unknown killer Lu Xing. Even if he is an enemy, so what? After all, he cannot let Lu Xing know anything. Yes, subordinate will invite him personally. Lani bows and says. Qinyu is very strange. Last time when he took the mission, the head of the Skynet branch told Qinyu that the Supreme Great Elder of the Skynet wants to talk to him. As a top killer of the Skynet, Qinyu also knows that there are 2 Great Elders of the Skynet. Now what does the Great Elder want to talk to him about? According to the appointment, Qinyu arrives at a tea house. At this moment, there is not a single guest in the tea house. Qinyu slightly frowns. Mr. Lu Xing is here. Why don't you come up? A burst of laughter comes from the second floor. Qinyu moves his feet, and his whole body disappears into thin air. There is not even the sound of wind when he moves. Then he directly appears at the entrance of the stairs of the second floor. His speed has reached a terrifying level. So fast and there is no sound of wind. Lani is shocked. He knows that even he cannot reach that speed. Lani looks at the entrance of the stairs. There is a person standing there. He is about 1.75 meters tall, and his whole body is very cold. But Lani inexplicably feels that the person in front of him is very familiar. Qinyu looks at the person in front of him, but his eyes twitches. He recognizes that the so-called Great Elder of the Skynet in front of him is actually the mysterious Lan Yi who occasionally appears by his father's side. The blue-clad and gray-clad elders are usually very secretive. They only appear in the princely mansion once in a while. In the entire princely mansion, only Qinyu and a few other people know about the existence of the blue-clad and gray-clad elders. Heavenly Net's Great Elder? Qinyu says while looking at the blue-clad elder in front of him, with a mysterious smile on the corners of his mouth. Chapter 62. So the leader of the Heavenly Net is? Qinyu smiled and walked to the opposite side of the blue-clothed elder. He sat down directly. The blue-clothed elder smiled and said slowly, Mr. Lu Xing is very mysterious. He completed 9 gold medal missions in 3 months, and all of them were perfectly completed. When I saw that, I was also surprised. Later, I found out that there was a master like Mr. Lu Xing in the outer net of the Heavenly Net. Gold medal missions? It's not difficult at all. I wanted an opponent, but I couldn't find one. It's really, Qinyu said proudly. In order to prevent others from discovering his real identity, Qinyu defined the killer Lu Xing as a peerless master who pursued martial arts. He didn't care about anything except martial arts. It's not difficult at all. Has Mr. Lu Xing reached the peak of the Xiantian realm? The blue-clothed elder asked. Qinyu suddenly laughed and said, Great Elder, why don't you give it a try? It's rare to meet a master like you. As he spoke, Qinyu suddenly made a move with his right hand. Qinyu had been training his finger strength since he was a child. At the same time, he also trained his finger dexterity. After many breakthroughs, Qin Yu's finger strength had reached a terrifying level. Qin Yu stretched out his right forefinger and made dozens of illusionary finger shadows. The blue-clothed elder's eyes lit up. He also stretched out his right forefinger. A dazzling light appeared on his right forefinger. Bang! The two fingers collided head-on. Surprisingly, they were evenly matched. The corners of Qin Yu's mouth suddenly slightly curve upwards. A purple beam of light suddenly bursts out from his finger. Blue-clad elder only feels a sharp force penetrate his body through his finger. He cannot help being greatly shocked. He hurriedly withdraws his finger. At the same time, he uses the liquefied Xiantian energy in his Dantian to wear down this foreign energy. Haha, Mr. Lu Xing is really powerful. I admire you. The blue-clothed elder's eyes lit up as he laughed. This time, he was ordered by Qin to invite Qin Yu. The first thing he wanted to do was to determine the level of Qin Yu's strength. Just from the power of this finger, the blue-clothed elder was 100% sure that Mr. Lu Xing's strength was not lower than his. Great Elder didn't use his full strength either. I won with an unfair advantage, Qin Yu said calmly. Qin Yu could see that the blue-clothed elder had not used all of his strength, but Qin Yu also did not use all of his strength. Qin Yu was sure that if he wanted to deal with the blue-clothed elder, as long as he used the purple Xiantian Jinqi that he had obtained from practicing the third piece of the Tong Tian diagram, he would definitely be able to kill the blue-clothed elder. Mr. Lu Xing's strength is so high. It seems that Mr. Lu Xing is qualified to take on a mission, the blue-clothed elder said mysteriously. Qin Yu slightly narrowed his eyes. He also knew that the Mr. Lu Xing that he was playing was a person who pursued the martial arts and pursued the limits. Qin Yu immediately said, "Oh, just now the elder tested me, and now you say that I am qualified to take on this mission. It seems that this mission is very important. Tell me about it." The blue-clothed elder said mysteriously. Important? Mr. Lu Xing, there are quite a few masters who are at the same level as you who are taking part in this mission. Once you take part in this mission, you will die. Oh, Qin Yu was shocked. He knew his current strength. In the blue-clothed elder's mind, the killer Lu Xing was a master of the Xiantian Peak. But he said that there were quite a few masters who were at the same level as him, who were taking part in this mission. Didn't this mean that there were quite a few masters of the Xiantian Peak? What mission could it be? Qin Yu had a premonition in his heart. Aha! Is there such a difficult mission that requires a few masters like me? Is it to assassinate a Shangxian? Qin Yu said with a smile. The blue-clothed elder shook his head and said, "No, it's not to assassinate a Shangxian. It's to be a bodyguard for about a month. If you are willing to take part in this mission, you must protect the employer well during this month." The blue-clothed elder stared at Qin Yu, carefully observing Qin Yu's reaction. Bodyguard? Humph, you want me to be your bodyguard? Qin Yu said coldly. The blue-clothed elder said confidently, "Mr. Lu Xing, don't worry. Don't you always complain that missions are not difficult? This mission is definitely difficult, and the strength of the enemies will definitely satisfy you. The most important thing is, once the mission is successful, we can give you a Haitian-grade magic weapon." Haitian-grade magic weapons were the top weapons in the eyes of mortals in the Qianlong continent. As for spirit weapons, they were generally owned by self-cultivators. Qin Yu got the piece of Inrock flaming iron, but it was refined by Finjiuzi. How could ordinary people get a spirit weapon? The blue-clothed elder said that the mission reward was a Haitian-grade weapon, which was already a very high reward. A good magic weapon was very attractive to a warrior. Since he wanted to pretend, he had to pretend to be a real warrior. Oh, Qin Yu's eyes flashed with a trace of interest. Seeing Qin Yu's expression, the blue-clothed elder knew there was hope. He immediately said, "Mr. Lu Xing, this kind of mission is extremely difficult to come by. If you want to take part in it, wait for me in this tea house 3 days later. I will take you there then." Protect people? Protect who? Where are we going? Qin Yu asked. The blue-clothed elder said with a shake of his head, "I can only tell you that the person you're going to protect is called Mr. Ng. As for other things, you don't need to ask. When the time comes, just follow us." He stared at Qin Yu, waiting for Qin Yu's reaction. Mr. Ng. Qin Yu's heart skipped a beat. He became even more certain about his guess. All right, I'll take this mission. See you in this tea house 3 days later. Qin Yu laughed out loud. His body flew out of the window on the second floor directly. Only several afterimages could be seen. Qin Yu then disappeared. The blue-clothed elder looked out of the window and nodded with a smile. Late at night, in the imperial study. Your Majesty, this is the secret letter from the hidden pawn. A handsome middle-aged man handed over a letter. Xiang Guang, who was sitting, hurriedly received it. Xiang Guang opened the letter and read its contents. He immediately frowned deeply. What? That Qinda is going to undergo the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation? And it's going to take less than a month. The expression on Xiang Guang's face kept changing. Qinda has always been Xiang Guang's sore point. If he does not get rid of Qinda, he will not be able to have a day of peace. Now that he has heard that Qinda is going to undergo the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation, he is a bit flustered. He hopes that Qinda will fail and die. But he is also worried that Qinda will succeed and become a Jin Dan stage expert. If that happens, the Qin clan will have 2 Shangxian. Once the Qin clan rebels, it will be a much greater threat. Xiang Guang thought for a long time, then raised his head to look at the handsome middle-aged man in front of him and asked, Mr. Lan, that Wu Xing and Wu De said clearly at that time that they only promised to protect us. It's very difficult to get them to get into action. Right, Mr. Lan? Did the great ancestor have any instructions? This Mr. Lan gives a faint smile, then takes out a small jade bottle from his bosom and puts it on the table in front of Xiang Guang, saying, Your Majesty, this is a red flourishing pill. I believe you already know the great ancestor's meaning. Hearing the 3 words red flourishing pill, Xiang Guang is shocked. A hint of ferociousness then appears on his face. Red flourishing pill, the last red flourishing pill. How can the great ancestor be willing to give it up? All right, don't worry. Mr. Lan, please tell the great ancestor that I definitely won't let him down. Humph, Wu Xing and Wu De are really too greedy. However, I have no choice but to kill Qinda. No matter what, we absolutely can't let Qinda succeed in overcoming the tribulation. Otherwise, with 2 Jin Dan stage experts on their side, plus the armies of the 3 eastern region counties, even if we can't succeed in the rebellion, our Xiang clan's vitality will be greatly damaged. It won't be worth it. Xiang Guang clenches the jade bottle in his hand. Mr. Lan nodded slightly, and then walked out of the front door in a grand manner. Xiang Guang stays in the imperial study. He stays up all night. Early next morning, he directly leaves the imperial palace with the secret experts. Chapter 63. In a quiet and secluded courtyard, Shangxian, that Qinda wants to rebel and destroy the foundation of our Xiang clan. Now he's about to undergo the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. The Qin clan already has 1 Shangxian Finjiuzi. If Qinda succeeds in overcoming the tribulation, they'll also have 2 Shangxian, which will be disadvantageous to both of you. Xiang Guang says to the 2 black-clad men. These 2 Zionist, Wu De and Wu Xing, have been guarding the Xiang clan for several hundred years, so their status is very lofty. Wu De's long hair hangs loosely over his shoulders, and he looks very confident and unrestrained. His internal energy has also reached the late Jin Dan stage, so he is definitely an expert. However, Wu Xing's long hair is tied up with a hairband. His white eyebrows and his eyes make his whole person look very fierce. His cultivation has also reached the middle Jin Dan stage, the same level as Fenjiuzi. Senior brother, in those days we made an agreement with Xiang Yang only to guard the Xiang clan, right? Wu Xing says to Wu De. Xiang Yang is a wise emperor comparable to Overlord Xiang Yu among the successive emperors of the Chu dynasty. Even though Xiang Yu was the founding emperor, he was killed by the vengeful experts of the Qin dynasty. Even though Xiang Yu conquered the world, he did not rule it. After his death, his only son, that is Xiang Yang, became the emperor of the Chu dynasty. Xiang Yang is extremely skilled in both civil and military affairs. His talent in martial arts is not inferior to that of his father Xiang Yu, and he is even better at governing a country than Xiang Yu. Wu De and Wu Xing were invited to come here by Xiang Yang when he was still in power. Junior brother. Wu De gives Wu Xing a slight look. Wu Xing then stops talking. Wu De looks at Xiang Guang and says smilingly, Xiang Guang, if you have something to say, just say it. Don't be so hesitant. What do you want us to do? Xiang Guang is delighted and says hurriedly, Shangxian, can you help me? Kill Qinda? Oh, kill him? Wu De gives a faint smile but says no more. Wu De neither refuses nor agrees. He only goes to one side, picks up a book and reads it leisurely. What a joke! Cultivators went against the will of the heavens. They were not so kind, nor were they so generous. Most of them were very selfish. They would only help their own good friends. But to ordinary people, they did not care about favors. Asking them to do things for free without any benefits was definitely a dream. Two greedy old men. Xiang Guang curses in his heart, but he forgets one thing. Why should these two Ziationists help him for no reason? Xiang Guang squeezes out a smile and says, Of course, Shangxian. As long as you help me kill Qinda, my Xiang clan will definitely reward you handsomely. Wu De and Wu Xing still don't have any reaction. Wu Xing casts a disdainful glance at Xiang Guang, his eyes full of ridicule. If you want someone to do something, you have to wait until after the event to pay. This rule is useless in front of the Wood brothers. Xiang Guang slightly narrows his eyes, then clenches his teeth, and takes out a jade bottle from his bosom. Wu Xing's and Wu De's eyes brighten at once. Xiang Guang says at once, Shangxian, there's a holy pill in this jade bottle. It's a precious red flourishing pill. I'll give this red flourishing pill to the two of you. What do you think? Wu Xing raises his white eyebrows. He and his senior brother Wu De exchange a look, then the two of them burst out laughing. Xiang Guang, leave this matter to us. It's only Qinda. Humph, if we attack together, they only have Finjiuzi on their side. They definitely won't be able to stop the two of us. Don't worry. Wu Xing laughs out loud, then receives the jade bottle. Xiang Guang feels his heart ache, but he still tries hard to squeeze out a smile. Then I'll wait for your good news, Shangxian. Right, Shangxian. Qinda is going to undergo his tribulation in the Green Lotus Mountain Range, on the border of the wilderness. As for where the Green Lotus Mountain Range is, I don't know. The day of his tribulation should be within a month. Oh, the Green Lotus Mountain Range? Wu De slightly frowns. Using the appearance and bone-changing technique, Qin Yu changes into the appearance of the killer Lu Xing, then goes straight to the appointed tea house. As for Xiao He, Qin Yu is worried that his true identity will be discovered, so he lets Xiao He fly at an altitude of 10,000 m. At such a high distance, even Qin Yu's eyesight cannot see clearly, let alone his holy sense. Qin Yu's holy sense can only reach several hundred m, while Xiao He is 10,000 m away. But Xiao He's eyes are very sharp. Even though he is 10,000 m high in the sky, he can still see clearly Qin Yu below. From this, it is easy to imagine how abnormal Xiao He's eyes are. They are much more formidable than those of ordinary eagles. As soon as he enters the tea house, Qin Yu sweeps the place with his eyes, then notices a black-clad old man in a corner. That black-clad old man is none other than the blue-clad elder. The blue-clad elder stands up and walks directly past Qin Yu out of the tea house, as if he does not know Qin Yu at all. Mr. Lu Xing, please come with me. The blue-clad elder's voice rises in Qin Yu's ears. Qin Yu followed this blue-clothed old man. The two of them, one in front and one behind, turned into a small alley. After that they walked into a courtyard house. This courtyard house was obviously prepared by the blue-clothed old man. And within the courtyard house was an enormous silver-feathered golden-eyed condor. Mr. Lu Xing, this golden-eyed eagle was raised by me. Come, follow me onto the eagle's back. The blue-clad elder says with a smile. The silver-feathered golden-eyed eagle lets out a low cry, and then spreads out its huge silver wings. Eagles are naturally much larger than eagles. Although Xiao He is a different kind of eagle, in terms of size, it is about the same as the silver-feathered golden-eyed eagle. The blue-clad elder and Qin Yu sit side by side on the silver-feathered golden-eyed eagle's back with their wings spread out. Then they soar into the sky and fly towards the east. Although this golden-eyed eagle is about the same size as Xiao He, its speed is far inferior to Xiao He's. Qingyu thinks to himself, this golden-eyed eagle's back is very wide. Even if the two of them sit side by side, it will not be crowded. Flying high in the sky, the wind blows, but the two of them sit very steadily. Mr. Lu Xing, remember, when you see the employer, don't ask what you shouldn't ask. You only need to know that you have to protect Mr. Ng. The blue-clad elder reminds him. Let me ask. I'm too lazy to ask, Qingyu says indifferently. After half a day, the golden-eyed eagle swoops down and directly enters a courtyard. The blue-clad elder jumps down first. He does not notice that Qingyu's eyes have lit up at this moment. This is because Qingyu's spiritual sense has clearly sensed the people in the courtyard. Mr. Ng, Mr. Lu Xing has also arrived, the blue-clad elder says respectfully. The blue-clothed elder said respectfully. After that, more than a dozen people walked out of the room in the courtyard. The ones leading them were Qinda and Finjiuzi. Behind Qinda were Gumin and a few others. This time, Manager Gumin is leading 5 late-stage Xiantian masters from the Secret Arrow. The blue-clad elder is leading 5 late-stage Xiantian masters from the Skynet, plus the killer Lu Xing. Mr. Lu Xing. Qinda walks over with a smile. Qingyu looks at his father. When he heard the blue-clad elder talking about the mission, he had already guessed it. However, he never knew that the Skynet is actually backed by the Qin family. Qingyu slightly nods in response to Qinda's greeting and says, Mr. Ng, you're the employer. I'll do my best to ensure your safety. Qinda nods with a smile. Then he says loudly, Everyone, everything is ready. Let's start. Qinda walks directly to a silver-white tiger. This white tiger has wings on its body. It is the king of tigers, the flying white tiger. Mr. Lu Xing, I have a good impression of you. Qinda suddenly turns his head and smiles at Qingyu. Qingyu smiles politely. Then Qinda rides the flying white tiger. Good impression? Qingyu smiles. His father still does not know that this Mr. Lu Xing is his third son Qingyu. Qingyu still follows the blue-clad elder on the silver-feathered golden-eyed eagle. The other Xiantian masters either share the eagle or have their own flying mounts. Qinda and the other 15 people break through the air and rush towards the east. Chapter 64. Qinda and his group of 15 people rode on the winged cavalry and rushed towards the east. In the end, I still came here with father. The development of this matter is really very wonderful. That day, I couldn't get what I wanted. Who could have thought that the identity of assassin Lu Xing would allow me to get what I wanted? This unintentional willow also turned into a shade. Qingyu looks at his father, who is riding a flying white tiger in front of him, and cannot help giving a faint smile. Qingyu didn't know where the tribulation would take place. His current identity was only a bodyguard. After flying for nearly 3 days and 3 nights, they finally arrived at their first destination, Bluestone City, a small city on the border of the untainted land. Go down. After Qinda gives an order, he takes the lead in diving down. This small flying cavalry unit also dives down right after him, heading straight for a place in the east of Bluestone City. Qingyu, however, feels that at the moment Xiaohe is also several thousand meters above everybody. Qingyu had taken Xiaohe, the baby eagle, when he was 7 years old. Now Qingyu was 19 years old. It had been almost 12 years. During these 12 years, the man and the eagle had almost never been separated. They even had a mysterious telepathy, which couldn't be described in words. Mr. Ng, shall we stay here for 1 night or? Elder Blue-Clothed asked Qinda. The 5 Heavenly Net Killers led by Elder Blue-Clothed only knew that they were loyal to the leader of the Heavenly Net. However, even they didn't know that the leader of the Heavenly Net was a member of the Qin family. To prevent accidents, Qinda asked Elder Blue-Clothed and Gumin to call him Mr. Ng. We'll stay here for 1 night. From tomorrow on, we'll enter the untainted land on foot. So we'd better have a good rest tonight. Qinda smiled and then looked at Gumin, saying, Elder Gu, arrange our food and accommodation. Gumin immediately said respectfully, Yes, Mr. Ng. That night, they had a meal in this spacious house. After that, most of them began to rest and sleep. After all, they would enter the untainted land the next day. Neither the Heavenly Net nor the Secret Arrow had any complaints about entering the untainted land. Even if they were to die, they would not be afraid, because they had been instilled with this belief when they were trained. However, this time, there was an outsider following them. He was an assassin who had reached the peak of the Xiantian realm, Lu Xing. The moon was bright, and the stars were sparse. A bright moon hung in the corner of the sky. Qin Yu did not go to sleep. Instead, he looked up at the silver moon in the courtyard. The primordial world. I didn't expect Father to arrange for the tribulation transcendence to be in the primordial world. Qin Yu sighed inwardly. The deeper we go into the wilderness, the more powerful the demonic beasts we will encounter. However, I believe that Father will not choose to undergo the tribulation in the depths of the wilderness. Suddenly, Qin Yu frowned and stopped his wild thoughts. Someone had arrived. Mr. Lu Xing, it's already so late, yet you're still up. Is there something on your mind? Qin De walked over with a friendly smile on his face. At the same time, another voice sounded. Mr. Ng, after all, there are demonic beasts in the wilderness. Although we won't go into the depths of the wilderness this time, it will still be very dangerous if we encounter demonic beasts. Mr. Lu Xing may also feel the danger of this trip. Fenjizi also walked out. Qin De said carelessly, Mr. Lu Xing, if you think it's dangerous, of course you can also give up this mission. We won't blame you or laugh at you. After all, the wilderness is a dangerous place. Qin De did not tell Qin Yu the location he had decided on this time. The Green Lotus mountain range was just at the border of the wilderness. The deeper you go into the wilderness, the more dangerous it would be. The Green Lotus mountain range was just a huge mountain range at the border. Even if there were demonic beasts in it, Qin De's party could easily deal with them. Give up? Of course not. I'm just thinking whether we will encounter demonic beasts in the wilderness this time. Some demonic beasts are at the same level as Xiantian experts, some are at the same level as Shangxian, and some are even more powerful than Shangxian. If I encounter a demonic beast at the level of Shangxian, if I have a life and death battle with it, will I or the demonic beast survive? Qin Yu said indifferently, Gentlemen, I'll go back to rest first. Qin Yu cupped his hands in obeisance. Mr. Lu Xing, go back to rest. We won't disturb Mr. Lu Xing any longer. Qin De and Fenjiuzi also signaled to Qin Yu. Qin Yu directly went back to his room, leaving only Qin De and Fenjiuzi in the courtyard. Fenjiuzi casually waved his hand, and a simple restriction formation was set up, isolating their voices. Brother Feng, what do you think of this Mr. Lu Xing? I can sense Yuer's aura on him. Qin De slightly frowned and said, at Qin De's level of power, he has gradually gained the ability to sense things with his holy sense. It is impossible to deceive Qin De and the others by merely relying on the appearance and bone changing. After all, most Xiantian experts have the ability to use the appearance and bone changing. Moreover, Qin De has a Zionist with an even stronger holy sense, Fenjiuzi. Fenjiuzi slightly frowned and said, when I used my holy sense to investigate this Mr. Lu Xing, I found that his aura was very similar to Xiao Yu's. I thought it was Xiao Yu at first, but later I found that this Mr. Lu Xing's body has an extremely special Xiantian energy, which has an extremely terrifying tearing property. Xiao Yu is a Xiantian external expert and has no internal force. This Mr. Lu Xing, however, has Xiantian energy, so they shouldn't be the same person. Qin De also nodded and said, I also sense carefully. This Mr. Lu Xing's aura is even thicker, and is somewhat different from Xiao Yu's. A person's aura is determined by his soul. When the mysterious Lu Xing's tear fused with Qin Yu's body, some faint mysterious energy from the tear fused with Qin Yu's soul without him noticing, causing Qin Yu's soul to slowly become stronger without him noticing. More than half a year's time was enough for Qin Yu to undergo tremendous changes. This was also the reason why when Qin Yu and Qin De met again, after being separated for more than half a year, they were not 100% sure that this Mr. Lu Xing was Qin Yu. Moreover, Qin Yu had also told them that Xiantian external experts relied on their physical strength, but this Mr. Lu Xing had Xiantian energy. Qin Yu did not know that this purple Xiantian energy was also obtained by practicing the trans-sky diagram, the third fastest technique. But the feeling in my heart tells me that this Mr. Lu Xing is trustworthy. Qinda smiled and looked up at the bright moon in the night sky. At this moment, he thought of his third son, who had left home. Father owes you a lot, but I don't know if I'll have a chance to see you again. Even though Qinda was well prepared, he was not 100% sure that he would be able to overcome the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. The next morning, the 15 people started their journey lightly. They entered the untainted land on foot. The weakest among them was at the late stage of the Xiantian realm, so they all used their lightness skills to climb mountains and wade through rivers. During the journey, Qinda often chatted with Qinyu. It seemed that Qinda had a good impression of this mysterious Lu Xing. After hurrying for 3 days, they entered the border of the untainted land. However, the untainted land was boundless, and its area was much larger than that of the other countries combined. After entering the untainted land, Qinda and the others hurried along some safe roads according to the map. In the untainted land, every demonic beast had its own territory. Qinda's map showed the gaps between the territories of some demonic beasts. Of course, with the strength of Qinda and the others, they were not afraid of the demonic beasts in the periphery of the untainted land. However, they did not want to waste their strength for no reason. After hurrying along this winding route for more than 5 days, they finally arrived at their destination, the Green Lotus Mountain Range. It was a huge mountain range that stretched for hundreds of li. Of course, a mountain range of hundreds of li was nothing in the untainted land. Chapter 65. The Green Lotus Mountain Range stretches for several hundred li, and is very wide. I'll just randomly choose a suitable place to undergo the tribulation. Qinda says with a big laugh while looking at the continuous mountain range. After such a long time, they finally arrived at the Green Lotus Mountain Range without any mishap. Fenjiuzi says smilingly, "Mr. Ing, let me find the place to undergo the tribulation." The range of Fenjiuzi's holy sense is a bit wider than Qin Yu's, reaching over 1000 m. In this strange Green Lotus Mountain Range, using holy sense to explore is indeed the best option. "Thank you, Brother Fenjiuzi," Qinda says with a nod. Then Fenjiuzi takes the lead, and the others follow him into the interior of the Green Lotus Mountain Range. After all, the Green Lotus Mountain Range belongs to the untainted land, and there are many ferocious beasts in it. The untainted land's heaven and earth Reiki is much richer than in other places of the Qianlong continent. This is also the reason why the demonic beasts in the untainted land are so formidable. Qinyu follows Fenjiuzi and keeps moving forward. At the same time he looks around. In the process of finding the place to undergo the tribulation, Qinyu sees a group of monkeys, a one-horned cheetah that has reached the Xiantian realm, and even a Xiantian realm flying white tiger. However, they do not provoke these demonic beasts. These demonic beasts of the untainted land also feel that Qinda and Fenjiuzi are formidable, so they do not come to attack. After walking for almost half a day, when the sky is gradually getting dark, I got it. It's unexpectedly so wonderful. A hint of surprise appears on Fenjiuzi's face. "Everybody follow me." With that, Fenjiuzi directly rushes towards a very ordinary cave in the distant mountain range. Qinda, Gumin, Elder Blueclad and the others also follow. They enter the dark cave. It is completely dark, and there is no light at all. Fortunately, they can see in the dark. As they go deeper and deeper into the cave, the diameter of the cave continues to shrink. At its smallest, it can only allow one person to enter by bending down. After bending down for about several tens of meters, the cave becomes bigger again. In the end, several people can even walk side by side. At the same time, light appears in front of their eyes. That cave is a passageway. They go out of the cave and look at the scene in front of them. This is a huge grassland surrounded by stone walls. It has a radius of several li. At first glance, this grassland is probably the only passageway they came from. Of course, if they are Xiationists, they can also fly in. It's overgrown with weeds and flowers. It's not a good place, Chief Steward Gumin said with a smile. Qinyu couldn't tell, What was so good about this place? The scenery was ordinary, and there were some weeds and flowers on the ground. There were also some wild horses in the distance. However, after looking at it for a moment, Qin Yu felt a wave of dizziness. This place is a little strange. Qin Yu immediately judged. The first thing he thought of was the Qimenduanjia array formation technique. However, the array formation technique was broad and profound, and Qin Yu had only studied it for a short period of time. At most, he could only be considered to have a superficial understanding of it. A natural illusory formation that contains the 8 trigrams is indeed a rare place. Let me modify it a little. Finjizi laughed out loud. Then a fiery red flying sword flew out from his palm. At the same time, the fiery red flying sword suddenly enlarged, becoming a 10-meter-long giant sword. The giant flying sword brazenly slashed at the mountain's stone wall. As if it was cutting tofu, the stone wall was cut into pieces. After a while, Finjiuzi withdrew the flying sword with satisfaction. Now the entire valley has slightly changed its appearance. Mr. Ng, with the help of this natural 8 trigrams formation, I'll also set up a reverse 8 trigrams formation around you. The combination of the positive and reverse 8 trigrams formations will absorb the power of nature around you to protect you. This time you'll have a much greater chance of overcoming the tribulation. Finjizi said with a loud laugh. As soon as Qinda hears this, his face immediately brightens. He says hurriedly, "Thank you for everything, Brother Feng." Afterwards, Finjizi concentrated on setting up restrictive formations to increase Qinda's chances of overcoming the tribulation as much as possible. Everybody was restricted within the range of the restrictive formations. Wu De and Wu Xing arrived at the Green Lotus Mountain range very early. They used their flying sword techniques to bring 2 old men with them. These 4 old men, who came with them, are not ordinary people. All 4 of them are peak Xiantian experts, the hidden super experts of the Xiang clan. Wu De and Wu Xing's group of 6 are temporarily staying on a mountain peak in the Green Lotus Mountain range. Seniors, according to our intelligence, that Qinda should have been in the Green Lotus Mountain range for a few days. We should also find out the place where he chose to undergo the tribulation. A white-haired old man who is the leader of the 4 old men says to Wu De and Wu Xing. Wu De, whose long hair flutters, gives a faint smile. The white-browed Wu Xing says indifferently, "No need to worry. The Green Lotus Mountain range is only several hundred li long. Given the speed of our flying swords and the detection of our holy senses, we'll be able to find out where they are in one night." Wu De says, "Marshal younger brother, let's do this. Tonight we'll make a careful trip to see where that Qinda is hiding." All right, your power is far greater than Finjiuzi's. Even if you use your holy sense, that Finjiuzi won't be able to sense it. There is a hint of arrogance on Wu Xing's face. He is basically not worried about this mission at all. Perhaps the only opponent is Finjiuzi. Middle Jin Dan will be slightly troublesome. As for the others, Wu De and his martial younger brother simply ignore them. Once a Zionist uses elemental energy to protect his body, those so-called high-Xian grade weapons will not be able to harm him. Late at night, the bright moon is hanging in the sky. Qinda and Qinyu are sitting side by side and talking to each other. "Mr. Lu Xing, I've always been curious about why you've been training so hard." Qinda says with a smile. It has been several days since he arrived at the Green Lotus Mountain range, but he and the mysterious Mr. Lu Xing are the most likely to get along. Qinyu says with a smile. Training hard? The first person Qinyu thinks of is his father, but in the blink of an eye, he thinks of his present identity and says at once, "I've been training hard. Firstly, it's for my family. Secondly, it's because I want to pursue the pinnacle of training." Anyway, Qinyu does not know his identity, so he says what he thinks directly. "Oh, pursue the pinnacle of training?" Qinda is curious. Qinyu nods his head. "That's right. In fact, I yearn for the world of Zionists. When I move, I can ride my sword and fly for 10,000 li, free and unfettered. When I'm angry, I can kill people from 1,000 li away. I can fight heaven and earth and demonic beasts." Qinyu is slightly excited. Then he shakes his head and sighs. "Unfortunately, my strength is still far from enough." I believe that you'll definitely achieve your goal in the future, Qinda says with a smile. Maybe. Qin Yu looks at his father in front of him. There is a faint warmth in his heart. Since he entered the Misty Villa at the age of 6, he has been in contact with his father for so many years. These days, the two of them have been chatting like good friends. A giant 8 diagrams is naturally formed in the whole valley. At the same time, Fenjiuzi has set up the base of the formation and linked it with his true elemental force. Only in this way can the power of the natural 8 diagrams be fully activated. This natural 8 diagrams absorbs the Lingqi of heaven and earth, and then converges at the center of the valley along 8 passages. In the center of the valley is a small reverse 8 diagrams formation. Qinda is sitting cross-legged at the center of this reverse 8 diagrams formation. The natural 8 diagrams absorbs the Lingqi of heaven and earth, and penetrates the reverse 8 diagrams through the 8 passages. After absorbing for 3 days, the reverse 8 diagrams has been fully absorbed. At this moment, a terrifying power is constantly circulating in the reverse 8 diagrams. Qinda can activate this power to form a protective shield at any time. The 13 of you listen to me. Fenjiuzi stares at Qin Yu and the group and says, Gumin and the 5 members of the Secret Arrow, the blue-clothed elder, and the 5 members of the Skynet, plus Qin Yu, a total of 13 people. These 13 people are listening to Fenjiuzi's orders. The natural 8 diagrams formation has not been activated yet. Once it is activated, this natural illusion will also be generated. At that time, you will also be affected. Therefore, first, I will set up a small 8 diagrams formation on your body. This way, you will not be affected by this illusion. Fenjiuzi says to everyone, whether it is the natural 8 diagrams or the reverse 8 diagrams around Qinda, both are linked by Fenjiuzi's true elemental force and are completely under Fenjiuzi's control. As long as Fenjiuzi uses his true elemental force to set up an 8 diagrams formation on everyone, this giant formation will not affect them. If enemies come, I will immediately activate the natural 8 diagrams formation to block them. Once they enter the formation, they will be affected by the illusion, but you will not be affected. Therefore, you must seize the time to kill the enemies. Fenjiuzi looks at everyone and says clearly, everyone understands that the enemies will be affected by the illusion, but they will not be. That will be the best time to kill the enemies. Of course, the enemies may not necessarily appear. I'm just reminding you. But you must remember one thing. No matter what, don't let anyone get close to Mr. Ng. Fenjiuzi says seriously. Everyone also nods one by one. Since then, Qin Yu has been sitting cross-legged and practicing in the reverse 8 diagrams formation. He strives to be in the best condition to face the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. Of course, he no longer chats with Qin Yu. Father. Qin Yu looks at his father, who is sitting cross-legged and practicing in the reverse 8 diagrams formation. In his heart, he is silently anticipating that his father will succeed. These days of chatting with his father are the happiest days of Qin Yu's life in the past 10 years. Time passes day by day. After 3 days of practicing, Qinda finally stops. Tonight, the heavenly tribulation will arrive. Qinda says to everyone. Chapter 66. The sky gradually darkened. Qin Yu is sitting cross-legged in the middle of the reverse 8 trigrams formation, in the middle of the valley. Fenjiuzi, Qin Yu and the others are randomly sitting around Qinda. As time goes by, the 15 people in the valley know that the heavenly tribulation is coming. Father. Qin Yu slightly turns his head and looks at Qinda, who is sitting quietly. At the moment, Qinda's face is calm. Qin Yu's heart suddenly trembles. How difficult is it for a mortal to resist the power of the heavenly tribulation, even the weakest 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation? No matter what, I won't let anyone disturb you. Qin Yu's eyes become even sharper. Everybody, the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation is a minor heavenly tribulation. There will be 4 heavenly thunders in total. During this period, we must ensure that Mr. Ng will not be disturbed by anyone. Also, don't even think about helping Mr. Ng resist the heavenly thunders. The heavenly tribulation is targeted at the person who is going through the tribulation. If you help him resist it, you will not be of any help to Mr. Ng. Instead, you will be punished by the heavenly thunders. Fenjizi advises everybody. Fenjizi has experience in overcoming the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation. Everybody at the scene immediately remembers what he says. Brother Feng, don't be too nervous. Only a few people know that I chose the Green Lotus mountain range to undergo the tribulation. Nobody will disturb me. Chinda opens his eyes and says with a smile, even though the heavenly tribulation is coming, he is still talking cheerfully and wittily. Suddenly, a fierce wind rises and sweeps across the heaven and earth, sweeping away the clouds. The clouds in the sky within a radius of several hundred li above the valley are swept away in a short while. At the same time, the color of the sky above the valley gradually changes, turning into a dark red color. The heavenly tribulation is coming. Fenjizi shouts immediately. Everybody's heartstrings immediately tighten. Qin Yu's heart is about to jump out of his chest. The dark red sky seemed to be right above their heads, giving people a strong sense of oppression. Then, the dark red sky began to spin, like a huge whirlpool in the sea. Streaks of purple lightning seemed to appear out of thin air, appearing from the dark red sky, and then being sucked into the huge whirlpool. The whirlpool became even more turbulent, and the natural energy within a radius of hundreds of miles became completely chaotic. Huge electric snakes twisted and turned inside the whirlpool. Gradually, the whirlpool stopped spinning and turned into a purple tribulation cloud. The dark red sky, the purple tribulation clouds, and the flickering lightning snakes in the tribulation clouds. Everyone in the valley looked up at the sky, and so did Qin Yu. Seeing such a terrifying heavenly might, Qin Yu felt as if his heart was being crushed by a stone, and he found it hard to breathe. Qin Yu gritted his teeth, and a sharp light flashed in his eyes as he glanced at his father. Father, you must succeed. Qin Yu was looking forward to it. Boom! There is a loud clap of thunder. A purple thunderbolt, which looks like a winding divine dragon, strikes towards Chinda in the middle of the valley. Everybody at the scene knows that the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation has 4 thunderbolts in total, and each one is more formidable than the previous one. This is only the first thunderbolt, but the first thunderbolt is already so imposing, so it can be imagined how terrifying the heavenly tribulation is. Rise! Chinda stands in the center of the reverse 8 diagrams and activates the reverse 8 diagrams battle formation. Various rays of light move unceasingly on the edge of the reverse 8 diagrams battle formation, then form an air cover, with the reverse 8 diagrams battle formation as its edge, firmly protecting Chinda. With the help of the natural huge 8 diagrams battle formation and the amplification effect of the reverse 8 diagrams battle formation, it takes 3 whole days to form a protective restrictive air cover. It is indeed very powerful. Boom! The purple thunderbolt bombards that cyan air cover. The cyan natural spiritual energy, in the reverse 8 diagrams battle formation, circulates rapidly. The air cover also trembles for a while, but it forcibly withstands the first thunderbolt. Seeing this scene, Qin Yu's heart relaxes. This natural 8 diagrams battle formation is really powerful. The restrictive air cover formed by the 8 diagrams can withstand the first thunderbolt without collapsing. A hint of delight appears on Fenjiuzi's face. At the moment, not far from the valley, Wu De and Wu Xing are standing on their huge flying swords. At the same time, each of them is leading 2 old men. Senior brother, that Chinda unexpectedly overcame the first thunderbolt. Moreover, he even found the natural 8 diagrams battle formation. He's really lucky. Wu Xing says with a cold laugh. Wu De says unconcernedly, no need to worry so much. The 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation has 4 thunderbolts in total. Each one is more formidable than the previous one. The first thunderbolt is only an appetizer. It'll be very difficult for that Chinda to overcome 4 thunderbolts. Moreover, even if he succeeds in overcoming the 4 in 9 heavenly tribulation, he'll definitely be seriously injured. At that time, given our power, it'll be easy for us to kill him. Those who succeed in overcoming the tribulation will generally be seriously injured. How can a seriously injured minor figure, who has just entered the early stage of the Jin Dan realm, be a match for Wu Xing, who is in the middle stage of the Jin Dan realm, and Wu Da, who is in the late stage of the Jin Dan realm, possibly be a match for them? Seniors, can we get into action now? Dong Xiang, the leader of the four old men, says respectfully at once. In the Xiang clan, the four old men are known as the Four Directions Death Gods. Their code names are East, South, West and North, and they have been given the surname Xiang. Hearing this, Wu Da slightly nods his head. Junior brother, now the second thunderbolt is about to start accumulating power. Once it starts, they'll definitely be distracted by watching the tribulation. At that time, we'll immediately launch a lightning-fast attack to wipe them out in one stroke. Yes, senior brother. Wu Xing is also excited. The purple tribulation cloud churns unceasingly. One after another, a powerful pressure causes everybody in the valley to feel apprehensive. The second thunderbolt is obviously much more powerful. Ha! A series of low shouts rise from Qinda's mouth. At the same time, a dragon-shaped protective energy appears on the surface of his body. To be precise, this protective energy has already almost materialized. It is none other than the protective technique of the ancestor dragon art that has been practiced to the peak of the Xiantian level. At the same time, a dark red long sword appears in Qinda's hand. It is none other than a middle-grade holy weapon. It is also the weapon he will rely on to overcome the tribulation. Most of Qin Yu's attention is on his father. Fenjiuzi, elder blue-clad, and the others are also concerned about the scene of Qinda's tribulation. All of them do not even breathe loudly. The atmosphere is very oppressive. Suddenly the sky shakes. Boom! Another purple thunderbolt strikes down extremely fast from the sky. Compared to the first thunderbolt, this thunderbolt is even thicker, and its purple radiance is even more dazzling. In an instant, it has already struck down. Qin Yu and the others immediately become nervous. However, at the same moment, enemy attack. Fenjiuzi's voice suddenly rises in the ears of the other 13 people. Qin Yu and the others are greatly alarmed at the same time. Fenjiuzi did not shout loudly, because he was worried he would disturb Qin Yu, so he only used sound transmission. At the same time, Fenjiuzi makes a mudra with both hands. The natural 8 trigrams formation of the entire valley is activated. One after another, streams of elemental energy run through the entire formation. Haha, Fenjiuzi, you want to stop us martial brothers with this kind of formation? Are you dreaming? White-browed Wu Xing says with a clear laugh. He steps on a huge long sword and flies down from the sky with 2 old men behind him. On one side, Wu Da, whose long hair flutters in the wind, also steps on a huge long sword and rushes down with 2 old men, 2 Xiationists. Qin Yu is greatly alarmed. He then clenches his teeth and stares at those 2 Shangxian with blazing eyes. Let's risk it. No matter what, we can't let them disturb father's tribulation. Chapter 67. At the same time, boom! The second thunderbolt strikes the 8 diagrams shield with frightening power. The shield immediately starts to shake violently like the surface of the water. The thunderbolt's power and the shield's power unceasingly cancel each other out. At the same time, various talismans appear on the surface of the shield from the inside. This is bad. At the moment, Qin Yu has spread out his holy sense. He is also paying attention to his father, so he can clearly feel that the shield's power is weakening extremely fast. That 8 diagram shield suddenly collapses. At the same time, those talismans floating on the surface of the shield also disappear. Henceforth, the shield formed by the 8 diagrams can be considered to have been broken. Luckily, the energy of the second thunderbolt has also been exhausted. Qinda, you're lucky to have found this natural 8 diagrams place and cancelled out 2 thunderbolts. It's a pity that there are 4 thunderbolts in the 9 heavenly tribulation. The more thunderbolts, the more powerful they become. The first 2 thunderbolts are very inferior to the last 2 thunderbolts. Wu Xing's white eyebrows reach his temples, but he has a fierce aura. Martial younger brother, don't waste time. Attack. Wu De gives an order. All right. Martial older brother. You four go kill those Xiantian experts. I'll deal with Fenjiuzi. A hint of fierceness flashes through Wu Xing's eyes. Those four old men look at each other and nod. Afterwards, they jump down from their flying swords at the same time and charge straight into the natural 8 diagrams formation. The four old men are all dressed in gray. Their power is also extraordinary. Be careful. This formation contains an illusion. Close your eyes and kill the enemy. As soon as East Xiang enters the formation, he knows that the situation is bad, so he shouts loudly at once. Yes, big brother. The other 3 old men immediately take the order. At their level, it is nothing to fight with their eyes closed. Even though they have not developed their holy sense, they can vaguely sense something. Moreover, they can also tell the location of the enemy by listening. The 4 old men all close their eyes and stay motionless in the formation. 4 peak Xiantian experts, this is a bit troublesome. Fenjiuzi thinks like lightning, then in an instant he orders. Go Min. You take the 5 elements commanders to deal with Wu Xing. I'll deal with Wu De. As for the other 4, the rest of you deal with those 4 old men. At this moment, the tribulation clouds rolled down once again. Faint sounds of thunder could be heard in the sky. It was the gathering of thunder and lightning energy. The more powerful the heavenly thunder was, the longer it would take to accumulate the power of thunder and lightning. Qin was fully prepared to welcome the heavenly tribulation. He didn't pay attention to the battle at all. Haha. Wu De laughed heartily, then stared at Fenjiuzi and said, Fenjiuzi, you, a mere Jin Dan middle stage cultivator, dare to dream of fighting me? When he heard Fenjiuzi's words, he was naturally furious. He was a late-stage Jin Dan cultivator, while Fenjiuzi was merely a mid-stage Jin Dan cultivator. The difference was huge. Fenjiuzi, you actually sent a few Xiantian masters to deal with me? Haha. Wu Xing laughs out of extreme anger. In Wu Xing's eyes, Xiantian experts basically can't even break his defense. Fenjiuzi's arrangement naturally makes him feel that he is being looked down upon. Fenjiuzi smiled coldly, but did not say anything. It was a secret that he possessed a middle-grade spirit weapon. Middle-grade spirit weapons were several times more powerful than low-grade spirit weapons. A child with a pistol could kill an adult with a knife. This was the advantage of a weapon. Kill. Wu De and Wu Xing suddenly shouted loudly. Like lightning, Wu De immediately charges at Fenjiuzi on his flying sword. Wu Xing also rushes into the formation by stepping on his flying sword. Even though this formation has illusions, Wu De and Wu Xing simply use their holy senses to observe it, so they basically ignore the influence of this kind of shallow formation. This natural 8 diagrams formation only makes use of the natural geography to form some simple illusions. Under the observation of the holy sense, even the tiniest details can be seen clearly. A real top-notch illusory formation can even affect the holy sense. Unfortunately, Fenjiuzi still does not have that kind of power. Following a series of explosions, a shrill miserable cry is heard at the same time. Blood splatters. A person falls down with a loud crash and dies immediately. Everybody is dumbfounded. Even Wu De and the others pay a bit of attention to this. The 4 directions killing god dispatched by the Xiang clan, third brother Xiang Shi, has unexpectedly been killed by a person as soon as he has come. Third brother. East Xiang and the other 2 people are extremely furious at once. The 4 of them have been together for more than 100 years, so they have a deep affection for each other. They are even closer than real brothers, and even have a special connection with each other. Just now, when their third brother died, they immediately sensed it. Now their third brother has been killed in an instant. Because of the illusory formation, they don't even know who killed him. Mr. Lu Xing, I admire you. The blue-clothed elder's voice enters Qin Yu's ears. Qin Yu laughs coldly. Determine position by sound. If you can't hear it, how can you tell? Just now, when Qin Yu used his movement technique, he didn't even cause the slightest sound of wind. Although the Xiang clan's 4 directions killing gods are peak Xiantian experts, they can somewhat sense it. However, once Qin Yu restrains his own aura, Xiangxi and the others won't be able to sense Qin Yu's aura. Restraining one's aura requires one to not use their internal energy. This way, others won't be able to sense it. However, in a great battle, everyone uses Xiantian true Qi or true elemental energy. How can they restrain their aura? However, Qin Yu can. Because just now, Qin Yu didn't use his violet Xiantian true Qi. He only relied on his physical strength. East Xiang and the other two are extremely shocked. At the moment, the illusory formation makes it so that they can't see the others at all. However, the people on Qinda's side are not affected by the formation. Just now, Xiangxi's death terrified them. You disturbed my royal father's tribulation. Go die. Qin Yu's voice rises directly in Xiang Nan's ears. Xiang Nan is immediately shocked. Royal father? Before Xiang Nan can understand what is going on, he is suddenly punched in the left side of his chest. It is like a huge hammer smashing his chest, directly shattering his heart. He immediately falls to the ground and dies. Second brother. East Xiang shouts in grief. Second brother. North Xiang shouts hurriedly as well. Who is it? Come out and fight me fair and square. North Xiang is extremely furious. In just a short while, two of his brothers have died. That brat is really troublesome. He can't move at all, and his aura doesn't spread out at all. Wu Xing's holy sense locks on Qin Yu and shouts at once. Brat, quickly accept your death. Qin Yu takes a look at Wu Xing. He is slightly shocked in his heart. Should I use the flaming sword and the flaming gloves? Qin Yu ponders in his mind. Zayaxinist's attack power is too strong, so at a critical moment, he must rely on the flaming sword and the flaming gloves. These two middle-grade holy weapons. If he doesn't use middle-grade holy weapons, he basically has no hope of defeating a Zayaxinist. But if he uses them, perhaps his identity will be exposed. 5 elements generals get into formation. Gumin's voice rises at the same time. The 5 late-stage Xiantian experts of the secret arrow block in front of Qin Yu. If Wu Xing wants to kill Qin Yu, he must kill the 5 people in front of him. Wu Xing gives an evil laugh. You're just a few ants who want to die. Don't blame me for being ruthless. As he is saying, he points at his flying sword. It immediately shoots towards one of the 5 people. At the same time, Wu Da, a late-stage Jin Dan expert, and Fin Jiuzi, a middle-stage Jin Dan expert, finally collide head-on. Boom. A terrifying noise is heard. A fiery red flying sword and a golden flying sword collide head-on with each other. Wu Da has a smile on his face. His power is far superior to Fin Jiuzi's, so he likes head-on collisions the most. Following the violent collision, Wu Da's face turns pale in an instant. A trace of blood trickles down from the corners of his mouth. At the same time, he looks at Fin Jiuzi in disbelief. Your flying sword. Fin Jiuzi's face is also pale, but his eyes are glittering. He says with a cold smile. Wu Da, today I'm going to let you know how big the gap is between a low-grade holy weapon and a middle-grade holy weapon. At the moment, Fin Jiuzi is in high spirits. Zayaxinist's attacks are based on their holy weapons. They practice flying swords, so their attacking power is based on their flying swords. Peng! A dark red short knife appears in the hands of one of the 5 elements commanders of the secret arrow. He blocks the flying sword directly. At the same time, his figure flashes to neutralize the impact force. Wu Xing is shocked. The 5 elements commanders simultaneously take out a short knife and immediately surround Wu Xing to attack him. Seeing the 5 middle-grade holy weapons coming at him at the same time, Wu Xing is shocked. Middle-grade holy weapons, good God, so many middle-grade holy weapons. He basically does not dare to use his elemental energy to protect his body. The attacking power of middle-grade holy weapons is not something that can be resisted by simple body-protecting elemental energy. Moreover, he only has one flying sword, so he can kill one person at most in an instant. However, there are 5 opponents. Whiz! Wu Xing stands on his flying sword and flies straight up into the sky. He can only take advantage of the fact that the 5 elements commanders cannot fly. The eyes of Wu Xing and Wu Da become blazing. Middle-grade holy weapons. Even on the overseas immortal islands, given their little power, they simply cannot obtain such precious treasures. Now that so many middle-grade holy weapons have appeared, they become excited. Junior brother, senior brother. Wu Xing and Wu De communicate with each other through holy sense communication almost at the same time. They both know what the other is thinking. Fight. They must get middle-grade holy weapons, even if they are seriously injured. At the beginning, Wu Xing and Wu De were only playing around. Now they have become very determined. For middle-grade holy weapons, even if they are seriously injured, it will be worth it. Once the two Ziationists go all out, their attacking power will not be the same as it was a moment ago. Boom. Wu De points with his finger. His flying sword changes into a huge flying sword and directly slashes a part of the foundation of the formation. At the same time, several huge streams of sword energy fly out from the inside of the flying sword, destroying a part of the mountain wall with a loud bang. The entire natural 8 trigrams formation is immediately destroyed, and the illusionary realm also disappears without a trace. The illusionary realm has been destroyed. Avenge your brothers. The killer is that brat in black. Wu De shouts loudly. East Xiang and North Xiang open their eyes at once. They immediately look at Qin Yu. Boom. A huge purple dragon dives down from the 9th heaven with a pressure that stifles everybody and strikes directly at Qin De in the middle of the valley. This is the 3rd thunderbolt. Now Qin De has lost the protection of his protective cover, so he can only rely on himself. Father. Part of Qin Yu's attention is focused on Qin De. Die. East Xiang's and North Xiang's eyes are completely red. Their internal energy surges out completely, and they charge at Qin Yu with their strongest attack. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.